You know what's fascinating to me? Everyone says that I'm the fastest talking person they ever heard. You are 1,000 times faster than me.
It's not like, just someone talking to try to get their thoughts.
What are you saying about label?
I'm saying.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode number 24. We got Shmuley back from Miami. He made sure to come in 5 a.m. He rolled in late last night to make sure to be here.
Be appreciative, ladies. Be appreciative.
We are. We have the one and only Zach Adler here with special guest Rafi Barides.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, Rafi. So I've heard a lot about you. You were mentioned like a few times already on the last few pods, but I want to let Zach, since we've been milking Zach for all his friends.
Yeah. So every episode is just label going, and here we have, and you are who?
Yeah. So Zach, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I'm gonna let the man himself talk about who he is, but I can say how I met Rafi.
Totally.
Honestly, I do remember the first time I met you. So basically, I had someone else who's been mentioned on this pod. I had a friend, Bob. Shout out Bob, who was my former roommate. And Bob hangs with this like very elite crew of 20-something like Flatbush creatives that like really don't fit the Flatbush like world at all, but they're all from there. And he played a show in his old basement, his parents' old place in Flatbush. It was a show.
Yeah.
It was
something.
It was a show.
I'm loving that you called them Flatbush elites. Like there's some sort of Illuminati. Like these Illuminati of like ex-Yeshiva guys that just happen to like music and other artistic forms.
I'll tell you why I call them elites, because honestly, and I said this to Bob the first time he performed at one of my shows, was how I met him. It's like, you guys aren't supposed to exist. Like, this is not supposed. You're supposed to see Waterbury guys making like Tati My King out of Flatbush, or maybe like a guy who he's like a rapper. Like, you don't really see guys who are like real artists just coming out of like the Frumest neighborhood in Brooklyn. You don't see it often.
I was gonna ask
you. And they all hang with each other.
I was gonna ask you if you could elaborate a little bit more on what this Illuminati is, because I'm not familiar with it.
It's a secret cabal of Jews who, instead of controlling the weather, they control our playlists. No, I'm joking.
Basically, this is like if you look on Spotify at like any of these people's fans, also like you'll see like the same consistent names. Everyone from like Jericho to Yosef David. There is like a slight separation between the Crown Heights crew and the Flatbush crew. The Crown Heights crew is famously seen as a little bit more pretentious, if you will. A lot of them have managers.
I think we need to back it up, right? Meaning,
that's a lot of information.
Unless I'm missing something. When you're saying that there's a group of creatives coming out of Flatbush, right? These are kids who went to regular yeshivas.
Oh yeah, these are guys absolutely in the system, and girls from the system. Some of them are still sort of like within the system. They're still from like still shit up there probably or whatever.
And what are they doing? Like that's out of the box. Could you just share
Art. They're artists.
And they're taking it seriously.
Artists within music or artists within...
Artists.
Within music and a lot of things.
Mostly music, let's be honest. Mostly music.
Yeah. And there's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff, as there always is. But like you made a good distinction with like Tati My King style stuff. There's like a lot of from people who I guess fall from the cracks and they land up in a school of love, like Waterbury. Which I'd love to talk about, by the way. After I have so many thoughts.
Get your spicy takes on Rafi.
We already had a spicy pod with Michael Gruen on this.
Yeah. Okay.
But essentially, they're making art, which I'm not going to crap on their art, but there are people who are making their own independent art, and a lot of them who grew up from, I guess like weirdos is what you could call it. And weirdos doesn't have any negative connotation.
These are the art school kids who didn't go to art school because their parents are from.
Very that. And by the way, Bob Dylan was gay. Gay. Bob Dylan was Jewish.
No, you heard it here, folks. Bob Dylan was gay.
And Albert Einstein was Jewish.
Yeah. Not from
Albert Einstein was an artist?
No. I'm just talking about
creative
like...
Talking about out of the box creative thinking.
Weirdos. Just weirdos. There's a lot of famously Jewish weirdos.
So you're saying that this group of people, you call them weirdos even though it's not a bad... You don't see it as a bad term.
Weirdos is like glorious to me.
Right. Got it. Do you consider yourself a weirdo?
Absolutely. Look at me.
Okay, awesome. Good for you. No, that's great.
I love how much you own it. It's amazing.
It's awesome.
I think it's glorious, really.
I love it. So where are you from? Can you just give a little background?
So I am coming from Flatbush. I was in the Mir Yeshiva on Ocean Parkway.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's from stuff. I'm
What
from
happened to
Flatbush.
you?
So, in high school, I went to Ar Yisrael, also known as Zuckers.
Okay.
Another yeshiva. It was basically the way that the yeshiva got created. They had a what's it called, the Beis Medrash, and then a bunch of different yeshivas canceled their Gimel share, and so a bunch of people decided to like essentially bring a high school to this Beis Medrash because that was like a college Beis Medrash.
Is this right by Bernstein?
Yeah, you know Bernstein. What the hell?
Oh, I remember at Bernstein started the high school for Zuckers.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
My friend went.
That
to
was-
So Rabbi
Beis Medrash
Bernstein,
there.
so I have a very, very close friend. I'm not going to mention his name, but Rabbi Bernstein's his brother-in-law. Yeah. Like a super close friend is Rabbi Bernstein's wife is his sister. I mean, that's what a brother-in-law is.
I think I know who it is.
You probably do.
Oh, that's quite funny.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Yes, I was in Zuckers, and then they landed up here.
Yeah, Akiva.
Got it.
Akiva's sister married. Okay, cool stuff.
Right.
Got it. So you were there. He's not even there anymore.
He's not there anymore. Very good. You know what happened.
I'm very good friends with this guy. So
That's very cool. Oh, so I have to be careful what I say.
no, not at all. You're supposed to not be careful with what you say on this podcast.
Oh yeah, by the way, I was want to make a quick disclaimer. I want to ask Zach, like you know me, I, as many creative people do, I have this like habit when like there's a camera and a microphone in front of me, I am like so like pretentious and fake. Like call me out on it. I'm a human being.
Well,
like,
if you say anything on this pod that doesn't stem with like
you know
who
what
I know
I'm
you
like
to be,
without the microphone, you know,
yeah,
so
I
like,
will reach
keep
across
me-
and
keep me
slap
in
you in the
check.
face. Yeah, you're good.
Because hold on. So you grew up. You went to the Mirror. You went to Zuckers. And how old are you, by the way?
I'm 20. I tell my clients that I'm 26 just because I want to have like credibility, you know. Of
course.
But I'm 20.
Got it.
He introduced me to himself. He said he was 45 and divorced twice.
I did not say that. Thank you.
Very, very cool. So when did you post Zuckers, right?
Oh yeah. So I basically a little back text, which is background and context mushed into one word. I created it. Essentially.
And that right there is what the elites are doing. They are taking words and they're making contractions.
God, it's crazy to see a master at work, honestly.
Yeah, so essentially I was in yeshiva, I was doing art, I was for a while I was very yeshivish, and I was playing chasanas and a terrace riva, I had a PA4X, I was being dying, did I think that I was that guy?
How old were you?
What?
How old were you while you were doing this?
I was between 14 and 17, and I did quite a lot of jobs.
You were doing what? You playing keyboard for
Yes.
for bands?
No,
That's
just
young.
one-man band.
Oh,
one-man band.
That's
Something-
young to be out there doing
quite
all
young.
that
That's quite
stuff.
young. So
How did you get
actually-
yourself out there like that?
So I did a couple of arts in the very beginning when I was 12, and then it started to
Who's
like
hiring a
just-
12-year-old?
Yeah,
You'd be so
Wait,
surprised.
We have to get like take this back a bit.
You'd be
like,
very surprised. People
12-year-olds?
You know why? Because you can pay a 12-year-old $100. Also, I did a very good job. I'm a good musician.
Shmuel, you have to understand one thing. Zach has told me, and Rafi, not to make you blush, but Zach has told me Rafi is in another level when it comes to music.
I know this. I
Okay,
know
so-
Oh,
this.
stop! I'm blushing.
But still, 12 years old.
Blush
like,
now on command.
That's to even get
Whatever.
yourself out there to someone to hire you to do a professional gig at that age is pretty wild.
So I was no god. I remember my first gig. His name is Tzvi Kogel. His sister, something was getting engaged. He knew me from a camp because we played music together in the camp. And he was like, listen, you want to come do this fart? And I was like, yeah, of course. He's like, have you done it before? I'm like, yeah, of course. And I had not. So I came in there, I played. I think I did a nice job because that family from like, my entire woman band Rain, they called me for like every simcha over the course of like 5 years. So, and like a lot of it is like family loyalty. Once families know a musician, they just keep on hiring the same person.
That's
So,
how it
like,
works.
yeah, overall, I maybe had like 20 different clients, but the same people kept on calling me for events. And eventually I had different deals with different halls to, give really cheap rates, do crap work. But I ended up doing a lot of gigs to the point where I was leaving Mishmar to do music. And the Yeshiva did not like that. They did not like that one bit. And
Terrible thing you were doing.
yeah, just horrible. And
Yeah.
I needed the cash.
It's
I
very
don't
funny
know.
that that's the thing that Yeshiva didn't like about you.
Well, it started there to say the least. So eventually, he told me I need to stop. I need to stop doing music. I was also doing photography at the time, and I was growing slowly. I was working with a lot of shaitel companies and like hair designers. It was very, very yeshivish situation. But eventually, the yeshiva really had enough. Tied with all of the homosexual politics, which we could gladly get into, we made a mutual, I guess, understanding of that I am going to no longer be in the yeshiva. And then
What age was that? What grade?
it was at the end of 10th grade.
End of 10th grade.
I still have the email. I organized a lot for that yeshiva. I did quite a lot of things to that yeshiva looking back from, the Shabbat tones to their music. I have the email from discussed where he's like, because he told me I have to do certain work. I don't remember what it was, and I didn't do it. And then he sent me an email like, please do not return to yeshiva. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday for like the Rosh Chodesh Mesiba where I was gonna like do the music, very that situation. So he kicked me out in the same email as he had me, come in and play, which was fine.
Right.
Wait, he was asking you to do Mesiba as he was kicking you out?
Yes, in the same email. I still have it. I still have that email.
Jesus
I swear
Christ.
to God. So I never went back. So I continued. I did a GED by myself. I took Regents by myself. I got all that stuff done. And I felt like I was way ahead of my class. Like then Corona hit. My class was still in like 12th grade, like steiging and like, taking Regents and in yeshiva, which was in a residential building for some reason, by the way. I don't know. It's so interesting to me. But I was like slowly growing my business.
What does that mean it was in a residential building? So how could something be a residential building?
In Zuckers?
Yeah.
Like by
Zuckers is-
29?
Yeah, you know that tiny little
Yeah,
like
I know.
laundromat?
My friend was in base medrash there.
So right.
Yeah, I probably was.
You guys know Remy Frankel? What the
I'm
hell?
hanging out with him tonight.
You're lying.
Shout out to Frum. He's our best friend from Cleveland.
You are
How?
joking me. That is crazy. Oh
Was
my
he
god.
like your hashpa guy when you were in...
Remy Frankel is like one of the most awesome people of Zuckers. He's just
Boom.
like he was
Abe?
an awesome guy. He also taught there, which was not a fun
Yes,
experience.
it's math and like stuff.
Yeah.
He told me some experiences he
Rafi,
had
one
from
thing.
that.
Sorry to bother you. Like, try to talk into the mic because we just want to make sure we get. It's fine. You could
Got
move,
it.
You could move it around. By the way, you could like.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny.
Very
Yeah.
good.
I'm literally
Into the
hanging out with him
microphone.
tonight.
That's so... yeah. It's weird when
quite
the worlds
funny.
collide
It's
like that.
weird when we're all collide.
Yeah.
He told me some stories from Zuckers.
Oh, I can
with
imagine.
the math ones.
He's
People
yeah.
throwing stuff at
I
him.
feel
when
so
he was a
bad for him,
teacher,
to be
but
honest.
you know what they were throwing at him.
He's such a sweet person, honest, because like they did some really
Sweetest
bad
guy.
stuff to him. And after I asked him about it, and he's like, "No, I don't hold a grudge against these people. Like I understand what they're going through." And I was like, "Wow, the amount of like sensitivity and like self-awareness, just like dissociate and like show that you know that it's not about yourself."
Yeah.
I respect him a
By the
lot
way,
for that.
This is a big trend in yeshivas I've noticed, is they always get like, there's always one base mesh guy's like, you're not a complete dumbass. You want to teach a class of like 35 high school kids physics? Like what is that? And how come every yeshiva has that?
Yeah, seriously.
No, I'll tell you why. Well, on a different note, what's the reason? They always all the non-Jewish teachers that come and teach, they always walk at, like there's the biggest chilul Hashems happen when like the non-Jewish teachers come in. They're like yeshiva boys are the worst behaved boys in the world. My question is, first of all, is that true?
I don't think it's true
No
necessarily.
way.
No way,
Do you
right?
see the stuff that's on World Star Hip Hop from like in public schools?
But they say that.
we bring in
They
less
say
guns,
that, but I don't know that. I don't know that it's true. I think what is true is that
I think it might
yeshiva
be
kids
true.
are very grouped together, and like we are the Jews and you are the Goyish teacher. Haha.
Right.
It's much more of
Right.
like that.
There's
than
more of
it
us
is-
versus them.
Exactly.
It's,
exactly.
They're much more other. But I will say that like I've had several teachers throughout the years tell me those exact words. Different teachers, different ages have told me all of my public school classes are better behaved than my yeshiva
Yeah.
classes. So I think it might actually be true. I think it's true.
No, so I think that the reason why is because Limudei Kol and then Limudei Kodesh, it's like it's two totally different things, and it's taught that way. So you don't have the same respect for the teachers as you have for your Rebbeim, like not at all the same respect. And so when you go into it, you're like, oh, I'm kind of just here to be here, or whatever. Especially in the super right wing schools, and then like, I don't need to learn this. It doesn't make a difference. And so whatever's coming out of their mouth doesn't make a difference to me. Now I'm going to try to have fun. Whereas in the public school, it's like every class matters just as much as the other one. You just have the 2 or 3 same kids out of 30 kids or 40 kids that are troublemakers.
Yeah.
So the other 35 actually care about the things that are coming out of their teachers' mouths. And they're like, oh, I need this for the SAT, or oh, I need this because I want to get a good grade so that my like parents don't get upset at me. But like in yeshiva, it's like, I don't care what you did like in English.
Right. I would say that's fair.
I got actually a question for you. Speaking about school, I have 2 questions about school. One, what type of student were you before you left yeshiva? Like, what type of student were you? In both Hebrew studies, in
Hebrew
Torah?
studies, I was excellent. I think I got the highest score one year of the Bechina Gedola. I learned a lot of Gemara. People underestimate how much Torah I know. And
This is also something we're Chavetz Chaim guys, and
Say Torah.
on high school. Oh, he's yeshivish.
I love this.
We don't learn a lot in like I remember learning Gemara basically for tests. Base management we took seriously, but like I feel like in Flatbush and there's in that world, like you guys learn in high school.
Yeah.
Hold
Like
on.
you guys are like ligging and learning.
Correct. Yeah. He in the yeshiva system in Brooklyn, like non-Chavetz Chaim, they cover plot. Like it's like
bro, they're covering ground.
No, they do. It's like they know how to make like lanings, bro. In Chavetz Chaim where we were, like you could make a laning. Of course. So
could you still make a landing?
Of course.
Do you think right now? Is there a time that we can get him out
right now?
Put me on
Let's
the
give him
spot like
PTSD.
I'm open to trying, but like I like to your point about like the Litvish yeshivas, like not like Chavetz Chaim. Also, what's it called Hasidim. Their whole goal is to like cover Torah. They just regurgitate it the way we read Tehillim. A lot of the Hasidic yeshivas, that's how they focus on reading Gemara. It's very big kiosk. The only real people who are like steiging are like the Ashkenaz Litvish yeshivas, and like not like the Chavetz Chaim. Like if you don't say oi, then like no, you know what I'm saying? There's no like Torah, and I remember my family used to bully me because I have a Sephardi family, and I would say maroyer. For like on Pesach you say maroyer.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, that sounds fucking weird, because they were all like, a lot of them have much more Sephardi background than I do.
Talking about your family Sephardi?
Yeah.
So then how did you land up in the traditional Litvish?
Oh, Sephardi yeshivas are expensive.
That's the reason?
Yeah.
Why didn't you go to like a Tered or something like that?
Because a Tered is expensive as hell. It's a very expensive yeshiva. These Ashkenaz yeshivas are also, they're much more fluid. You'll notice that Ashkenaz yeshivas are filled and flooded with Sephardi kids. You will never find an Ashkenaz kid in a Sephardi school. You won't see it.
That is very much true.
Why do you think that is?
A few reasons. First of all, the Sephardi community is much more polarizing in a way. I don't think they would ever accept someone who is like not one of us. And I also think that the Ashkenaz yeshivas are way cheaper, much more open. They have much more diverse background in general. And there's more of them.
You know what's fascinating to me? Everyone says that I'm the fastest talking person they ever heard. You are 1,000 times faster than me.
But he's very concise with what he says, though.
Oh, thank you.
And he talks clearly.
He talks clearly.
Yeah.
Meaning like, every word that you have coming out of your mouth actually has weight to it.
That's
like, it's not like just someone talking to try to get their thought.
What are you saying about label?
I'm saying he knows this. He'll say this. Label will be like, "Let me talk this out. I have to get this thought out. I have to get it. I have to talk it out. I have to talk it out." And after like a minute, then he has it, and then he can concisely put it and like nail it.
What we're saying is you could be like a really good like fast reader for like a like. Are there
Lane and Schultz?
It's an interesting idea.
You would be a rock star laner.
Yeah, he really wants to do that.
Like you say all the words clearly and you move.
No, something about leaning. It's always like bothered me. I have like there's like 5 pretentious guys who like when you say something wrong, like like just like get through this.
You have like you have a 65-year-old overweight like little guy going.
No, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about if you make any sort of mistake, you have those guys that are like the Nazis of
bro.
The Nazis. You ruined the trap.
It's like it's the grammar police.
These are the same guys who are not nice to waiters and waitresses. That's what I hope.
That's fact.
It's guys who like whatever's going on in their life, like you just got sacked, your career never went where it went, your kid's off the derech, you're divorced, whatever it is, you're sad. And you go to shul and you're just like waiting for that mistake, and then you're like, yeah! Like for 1 second, you're the king of the universe, and you go back to your shitty
it's like
life.
The highlight of their week. It's like the highlight of their week. I want to coin the term "Trup police" or like the Trup Scheimrin. The Trup Scheimrin. That is amazing.
That is actually amazing. So hold on, I want to go back a little bit. So you left high school at the end of 10th grade. You were playing the gigs you were playing at weddings from 14 to 17.
Not as much as toward the end. At the end, I really started getting weddings consistently because I went more toward the DJ route. But I was doing a very large amount of bar mitzvahs, shava brachos, and barts. And people underestimate that there's a lot of money in there, especially that bar mitzvahs. If you come off as a shtadi and spitz guy, and because I was young, I was able to do that. Every single kid in that class is gonna hire you,
right?
Because you are the cool guy. So I would like always go up to them and like be stolzy and like spitz to these kids, but like give them just enough attention. And it worked. I got many classes. I did a lot. And something else I would do is I would reach out to menahels. Say like, listen, I know you have people in your yeshiva. I'm willing to go at a cheaper rate. And so a lot of parents don't have a lot of money. They reach out to the school for help when planning the bar mitzvah. Right. I would be the first recommendation. You know what I love? That you're not just a musician. You're an entrepreneur. I mean, that word sounds trauma, but thank you. That word is trauma? Entrepreneur just has like a connotation today, but yeah, no, definitely get what you're saying.
What do you mean? What's the connotation?
What's the connotation?
it's such a pretentious thing. Like, when someone writes the word entrepreneur in their Instagram bio, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what you are. You are unemployed.
Yeah.
That's correct. No, because what you're describing about what you would do is very entrepreneurship. Like it's hustling in a smart way.
I like the word hustle a lot more. I definitely put in the work there.
I don't know. I think it's more than just being a musician. A musician, what you're doing is like you're creating business. Like you're going to Manals, you're going to like. You created a market for yourself.
Creating opportunities for himself to be able to do what he loves, which is incredible.
It's just very smart to be doing at 15 to 17 years old. That's all.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well,
thank you.
I think that was a good time to transition. And we'll go back and I have a lot of questions about your origins, but I want to know, what are you up to now? Let's forward the clock. It's 2 years later. You're not playing gigs anymore at weddings. What do you do now?
Okay, so thank you so much. I transferred completely into studio work. I recently sold all of my live gear, which was a huge moment in my life. And I exclusively do studio work. I do graphic design. I do music video production. I'm working super hard. I recently set up my LLC, my online listing. I'm working just around the clock to build my business and build my brand and get more clients. And
could you elaborate more on what studio work is? Like
yeah.
What all those things you just said, what that is on a practical
so
level.
Unlike Ben Lerner, I'm going to explain what music production is.
Wow!
That was
shots fired.
Essentially, he was kind of correct.
Well, to be fair, he's not you're more a producer.
No, Ben is great. I love Ben.
We love Ben.
I was just in the last week's podcast. I was listening. Like Ben Label was like, "What's music production?" And he was like, "Wow." I mean, it's like.
And then he just barfed into the mic.
No, he was totally fine. Basically, whenever you listen to a song on the radio or Spotify, someone sat there recording every track, mixing every track, writing every note, recording every sound, editing it, putting it all together. And that guy is a music producer. And it's done typically in a studio.
Very cool. Very cool. I still don't understand it at all, but
okay,
amazing. No, you don't. No matter how much you explain it, I'm not going to understand
He's not going to understand until you get labeled on a track.
What's your favorite song?
Till I see it, I'm not going.
No, you should come by my studio.
I want you to produce a track with Rafi. I want label on.
No, it'll be a Lion production.
Yeah, yeah.
No, meaning if you show me what you're doing from whatever, I'm a very visual learner, so I learn when I see things being done. If that makes sense.
Right.
Like telling it to me in words doesn't hold as much weight to me seeing what you're gonna do from someone singing to like how it comes out, like the process.
So right now we're at this table. There are 4 microphones set up, and they're going into that mixer, right? Pretend that instead of our beautiful 5 faces, you were a drum set, you were pianos, you were a guitar, and I was a bass. So each of these microphones would be recording the instruments that someone arranged to go together, and then the final output, what's going to be this podcast, would be the song in that case.
Got it.
That's a very dumbed down understanding, I guess.
Got it. Okay,
But that's
that makes
essentially what
sense.
music production is.
Very cool.
That was very well put. Holy shat balls.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like
So who's the producer?
I just understood music better.
Holy crap.
So who's the producer? What do you say of this pod? Danny? Who the editor? Like who's the one?
Of this pod, it's a combination of me and Danny.
Here's the thing: when you produce a podcast, the producer's job is not technical; it's to make it happen. It's very different from a music producer, meaning it's like a show producer, the guy who puts all the elements together. Your job in the podcast, producing this podcast, is everything from having the guest here to making these and making the coffee. It's.
That sounds very like amazing. I'm just a coffee maker. That's what I am. I make coffee.
Producing literally just means doing.
Label add to your resume.
Just making it happen.
Made coffee for it.
Just making it happen.
I understand. Okay, very cool. Zach, you had something else you wanted to ask?
For sure.
So why did you hold on? Why did you transition out from the live gigs to this whole different? It's a totally different thing, right? What you're doing.
So I dyed my hair, and then I
That's why you dyed your hair.
I feel like he's getting somewhere.
Yes.
I know.
no, literally, though. I dyed my hair blonde, and then the honestly, I had gigs, and they were like, what? They were gone. They were totally gone. For a while, though, the Chabad people, I gotta give it to Chabad. I love fucking Chabad people. They don't give a shit who you are. Like, the Chabad people, I would say my last maybe 10, 15 gigs that I ever did were all Chabad, because they don't give a shit who you are.
I don't think it's surprising. They're used to Jews who don't fit the label.
Yeah.
They live amongst them. They daven next to them at 770. It's okay.
So hold on. You're essentially saying that all the lit fish from people, let's say in Brooklyn, stopped using you.
Oh,
because
yeah. I had earrings. I had dyed hair, because I was doing yeshivish gigs. Like, this was not like, bands like a Coldplay or like whatnot, like they're doing, it's not even like Five Towns gigs. These were yeshivish Lakewood Flatbush gigs, like Borough Park gigs. yeshivish.
So when you
AF.
dyed your hair blonde, you went with the earrings, or just first blonde and you're wearing a white shirt and everything while you're doing
So
it?
it started off with just blonde, white shirt. A couple people, someone gave me a nasty comment, even like, I guess people gave me nasty comments. I was shocked. I was like, I'm the musician. You know,
For
the
what?
waiter is
Blonde-
Mexican.
For what, blonde hair?
Yeah, for having the blonde hair.
What do they care? How did they even know that you used to have black hair?
Someone went out of their way to tell you something nasty?
Yeah, no, because, it was dyed. It looked dyed. Whatever. To them, it's like, who is this
What was
goyish
the
guy
comment? What
at
was the
our
comment?
bar
I'm
mitzvah?
actually curious what
I
someone
don't
would
remember the exact details. I remember exactly who it was. It was one of my close friends' brother-in-law.
First of all, Zach, you make it sound like that's a shock. There's a lot of just like bad people in this world. Why are you like shocked?
I didn't say I'm in shock. It's more like, I don't know. It's just, it still sometimes surprises me because I know there's a lot of bad people, but I'm wondering how, it depending on what the comment was, is that just a shitty person or is that a cultural, a Frum thing?
No,
Is that a cultural
No,
thing?
there's a lot. I don't think that's what I'm saying. It's not I'm not knocking. I would not knock from people. The way you made it sound is like from people. There's like something wrong. Like you could be. There's a lot of not nice people in every single culture. That's all I'm saying.
That for sure. Assholes, they found their way. They're very loud.
Yeah, I don't think
faction of
that's
every
a
culture.
Jewish thing.
I mean, put it this way: someone making a gig is kind of like a manal. Like anyone you wouldn't let in your yeshiva is not someone you would hire at your event unless they're not Jewish or they're already like out of us. So you can hire a not Jewish waiter, but you can't hire a Jewish waiter who has dyed hair.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Because then,
it's kind of
correct
polarizing.
me if you think I'm wrong, but I always thought that was coming from we need to protect the children from what they could be.
kind of. There's a lot of it.
They're not going to be a non-Jew, so the non-Jew can be whatever they want.
there's a lot of
In
thought
fact, we'll
behind it.
applaud the non-Jew for being whatever they want. That's great. We love diversity. We don't like diversity within the actual community.
Correct.
Because then my
Exactly.
kid's here, he can't see that there's another way to be.
For sure, if
Precisely
Rafi was like a non-Jewish guy that was just playing a gig and everyone knew that he was just playing gigs, they wouldn't care when he showed up at every single time.
Exactly.
But
The
they
proof
knew
of that
who he
is that they
was.
have, like, musicians
And this
or
is really
going-
getting to the bottom of why I wanted you on the pod. Besides the fact that you're a friend, besides the fact that I've worked with you and that I think you're very talented, I think that you're a lot of what this pod can do is we do live within a certain niche within the Frum community where most of the people who watch us are from and have been through the system. We all have this shared, very strong community. There's a lot of beauty in that. But a lot of us kind of do our own thing. And you're a very good example of someone who really does their own thing to the nth degree. And you still remain, it's not like you've severed full ties.
Very in the front.
You're very in the Frum community. Where's your studio again?
It's the middle of Flatbush.
Ocean Avenue. Like you're still in it, and I think that that's beautiful because it shows that you really can have. You can live in those two worlds. You can be yourself. You can be within the community. You can work with these people. You can respect these people, and there can be mutual respect. And you can also make great things. I know that you've put out an album recently, and I definitely want to transition to talking about the album. You put out an album of your production. Every song has a different vocalist. Some of those vocalists are religious. Some of them wear yarmulkes. Some will cover their hair when they're married, and yada yada, whatever other external factor you want to use. Some of them haven't been religious in years.
Right.
It doesn't matter. They all have that shared. I believe everyone on the album was from.
Yes. Everyone in there has that background of like
They have that shared
some
community.
Jewish thing. Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Is it a Frum thing or a Jewish thing? Just out of curiosity.
I would say 99.9% from and a little bit of just Jewish.
Right. So could you just explain to me how else, like I know your studio's you said you're still very much involved in the Frum community and your studio's obviously on Ocean Avenue. Could you explain are there other examples of how you're still very much involved? Aside from the gigs of the creative, like this creative group we referenced earlier, is there any other?
So, I mean, a large part of my clients who I'm so prideful to have are, people who are considered Frum celebrities. And so just by virtue of that, I'm contributing creatively to Jewish media, meaning, any Jewish song you hear, like not any, but in general, if you hear a Jewish song, there's a possibility that I had part creating that. Most of the people, I mean, I did some filming for Mati Steinmetz. That was one of my proudest moments.
That's really cool.
Hold on. You did music for Mati Steinmetz?
Not music,
video.
filming.
He's also
I did some filming.
videographer and video editor.
Director, essentially.
He is probably right now my favorite Jewish artist.
He's so good.
I mean, the purity.
It's just not fair.
Oh yeah, we're not.
It's a Shmuley's thing. Yeah, fat guy. It's not fair.
No, because he's playing with a different set of rules.
He's got a good deck of cards.
I'm just saying, the purity in his music. Oh my! Like I'm obsessed. Before Shabbos, I have a playlist. Shmuley wants to kill me every single time.
Oh my God!
And 3/4 of it is Monty Steinmetz. Like
The other part is Celine Dion. Callback.
First of all, he put out on social a clip. I was roasted so bad on today's clip. Oh my gosh. Oh, it was a painful clip of me during my depressed days.
No, there was that one Monty Steinmetz song that I liked that he did with Isha.
Which one?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a great song. It was
It's
a great,
amazing.
great
That was
song.
universal. No, hold on. But Nafshi was universally recognized by the whole world because it has a lot of Rebo touch to it as opposed to being a Hasidish niggin.
Right.
I love Monty Steinmetz's Hasidish niggin.
Really?
Are
No,
there
this
any
I didn't know.
offhand- are there
label.
any offhand you
Loves this
specifically
stuff.
like?
What?
Do you know any offhand you specifically like?
Yeah, all the ones by Kiddush and by the Rechnitz wedding he sings. He sings.
Wait, you're sitting around your house listening to him sing at a Rechnitz wedding?
Well,
Yeah,
it's
it's
recorded.
Before Shabbos,
It's recorded. He has.
Before Shabbos, label will do that, yeah.
There's a couple other ones that
is
I'm
next
obsessed
level
with.
Frum culture.
Hold on, I need to get this out of my head.
That's what Sam was saying.
Hold on one second. I'm pulling it up because I'm like.
While he's playing up, no, like label loves Mordechai Ben David, Avram Fried. Like he loves this stuff.
I
Like,
love the
like,
Herzog classics.
he used to he fights me on like how I don't like this type of stuff.
No, I think it's beautiful. I'm asking the whole table right now. Imagine, is this happening in other cultures? Meaning, are Muslims who live in America, like the TV show Rami, like your modern Orthodox Muslims, are they sitting around being like, dude, I'm listening to Fahim Anwar's like Kiddush at a wedding, like he's singing at a wedding.
You'd be surprised.
Maybe you don't know. I don't know. You don't know their cultures.
I've had an interesting outlet into Turkish culture, and they really do have that. They're Americanized, just like they're like so much like from Jews. They're Americanized, but they have their like Americanized callbacks into their culture. It's so cool. You know what I mean?
I've been saying for years that we need to have a Jewish Rami. I don't know if you know the TV show.
Jewish-
Rami's
I
a
don't know
show on
Rami.
Hulu about what's basically a chilled out ex-yeshiva guy, Muslim guy. And he's literally still from, and some of his relatives are very from, and he's just not that from. He has kind of a hip, he's kind of progressive, but he's from, he's going to marry Muslim. We need a Jewish version because all the Jewish media is about Hasidim who go off the derech, and it's kind of negative. And let's just have a positive about someone who kind of straddles both worlds and makes it meaningful in both and makes it work.
Right.
You know, let's make it about Crown Heights. Let's say,
Zachar
I'm
Briss.
okay for that.
Zachar Briss.
I love that song.
Insane
It's a
song.
great song.
Insane.
It's so good.
Then he sings also Kolmar.
That one, I'm okay.
It's beautiful.
So it's,
Then he has another one that he sings. Let me find it. I just these are
Shmuel,
my.
are you comfortable with the level of From this?
Do you know the recent
Like,
one?
this is,
There's the one I filmed.
Let's have a quick conversation, side conversation about Taylor Swift.
yeah,
then
oh
he
my
has,
God.
Shama Vikar
He has a new album
everyone,
coming out on
nah.
October 31st.
Excellent.
Label.
Okay.
Can we get Taylor
Yeah.
Swift on the pod to wash out the?
Yeah, like
Shmuel's dying.
Okay, let's talk
I was
about
dying for a second. And
anti-Semitism.
me and Zach had to have a side conversation about Taylor Swift.
Wait,
We did.
Taylor Swift is anti-Semitic.
You know what?
Yeah, so I'm a crazy Monty Steinmetz guy.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely excellent.
Yeah.
Really, truly.
So that's amazing. So Mordechai Shapiro, Monty Steinmetz, whatever. So you're still very, very okay. You are very, very much involved in the Frum music world. That's really what it comes down to.
I mean, I live at home, so obviously a lot of that, I'm in a Frum environment for the most part. Even at the studio, my landlords are from family, such great people. Like,
You also run a cheder out of your studio.
right, I do not run a kid. Very good. Very good.
What's your how many siblings do you have?
We're 8.
And what's your family like?
Oh, I love this one. Hope none of them watch this. So my oldest brother is married to a woman. He's from and he lives in Miami Beach. The one underneath him is married to a guy, and he lives in North Carolina. He is nihilistic, atheist, zero relationship with Judaism at all. And then underneath him, I have another brother, Yaakov. I shouldn't have said his name. I don't know. No one cares. He lives with us at home. Very, very cool guy. And then underneath him, I have my brother Avi, who is an actuary who lives in Philadelphia. He is single and straight as far as I know. Also atheist, nihilistic type stuff. Then there is me. The rest of them are from kids who live at home.
You know, not every atheist is nihilist. This might be something in your family.
No. I'm pointing out that that's why I have to say
This
that.
is not the average Flatbush family. Like
No,
the
it
top
is
4
not.
kids are atheist, nihilistic. One's gay, one's straight, lives in Philadelphia. We're not sure. Like, is he atheist? Is he not atheist?
Yeah,
like,
so there's 2 gays. And my mother is a teacher part-time, and my father has been a Rebbe for the larger part of his life.
Wow, that is fascinating. Where did your mother teach?
In Atirit Torah School for Girls.
Pardon?
And your father?
So my father's a rabbi at it's a kihila on Avenue P called Yama Torah, and he also is a rabbi during the day at Magen David Yeshiva.
So he's a Rav as well as being like a Rebbe at Magen David.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Triple smicha.
okay,
Hold on, what's triple smicha?
I don't know, I got smicha a few times from like different rabbis.
Wow.
He's an interesting fellow.
Wow.
can we cut deep here?
Yeah, for sure.
How do your parents feel about their kids?
So here's the thing. My father grew up not in a religious environment. My father's completely Israeli. So as far as I know, he grew up in a kind of Chiloni world. And he was like, I guess, the different one. Now his siblings also became rabbis. My father was the first one to like come to America, marry an American woman, and like become a rabbi. So as much as my father is super religious, he's a rabbi, by virtue of that, he's more religious than my mother. He has zero dogma. He's not a dogmatic person. So there's no like, what do you mean? But the Torah says. And so for him, even if he disagrees with my lifestyle, we get along fabulously well. As opposed to my mother, she is not a rabbi. But she is a lot more dogmatic in a lot of ways. So for her, she struggles a lot. I sympathize with her, but she struggles a lot with me and some of my siblings' Judaic status and homosexuality and so on. That is a hurdle for her. But I live at home. I haven't been killed, which is a step up. So
they haven't stoned you,
which is a step up.
Right.
No, because I would say this, like normally in general, when I guess coming from the Frum community, when people go either into a very different path than they grow up to be, which is like you go to a cheder and like all of a sudden, okay, I'm not Frum, or I'm homosexual, or I'm atheist. It could be anything, right? Normally it comes from either two spaces. One, you either have like a super open like space where you're able to just find yourself create like in whatever way you want to, and so it allows you to just not be rigid in who you have to be from growing up, and therefore you just become whatever you experience really in life. If if you're a 17-year-old and you had a lot of friends that were outside of the school that you're in, you hung out with public school kids, you might just like start liking the things they like and become more like them. And then it comes out of a space of rigidity. Whereas like a lot of people that become, I would say, even how you are or people in your family, a lot of times it comes from a place.
Do you mean gay?
No. I'm just saying atheist. It could be your whole family. It could be gay. It could be atheist. It could be anything that's not
in the norm.
In the norm of like of religiosity, religious Lippish Judaism in Flatbush, right? Comes out of a super rigid place.
Rabbinic Judaism.
Yeah, rabbinic Judaism comes from a super rigid place where it's like a trauma-based thing where like their parents like destroyed them and like they have a hatred for it now where they go all the way the other way.
So I really want to address that, and I swear I won't go down Waterbury Road. I swear I won't.
You can't.
But I do want to really address that because firstly, I have a few things I want to say. Firstly, I think there are two kinds of people who go off the derech. There are people who start doing averos and then come up with semi-logical thoughts that they heard to not feel guilty or get rid of that like cognitive dissonance that's happening because they're doing these averos, and then they land up off the derech, and then they land up in a safety net. And these are great institutions that I'm about to name. Some of like Moshe Feiglin's work, what's it called? Help me out over here. The one in Crown Heights that like helps people. I think
Wilkes-Barre.
Everything from our place to Waterbury,
those places,
to Rabbi Feiglin's place, like they're all
the unconditional love.
The schools of love is what I like to call them, because they come in and sort of save these people, for lack of a better term, as opposed to the people who actually have philosophical thoughts and consider like, wait, does this make sense? Was there a big boat, in the beginning of time that was like sailing as the world flooded? Like people who actually think back. Like, wait, does that make sense? Should we circumcise our children? Like, people who actually have thoughts inside their brain. And then they even have trauma sometimes that a lot of people, you'll notice this, Zach, they're not religious anymore. They're even atheists, but they can't stop keeping kosher because it was given to them in their formative years. So I think that some of the people who you have to kind of make a distinction. That's why when I say off the derech, I mean people who like, I didn't want to wear a hat and jacket. Oh, my Rebbe hurt me, as opposed to not religious, who are philosophical, intelligent people who came to certain conclusions and then acted on them after.
Got it.
Love it, yeah. No, but I don't think we're like disagreeing. I think that two space. Yeah, there's a distinction. There's that your distinction you're making is that there's the people that get it out of trauma, really at the end of the day, and then there are people and the people that get it out of a space where, okay, I've thought this through, and now I'm trying new things, or I'm trying to figure things out without from a non-negative standpoint.
Yeah. Also, trauma doesn't imply that it isn't logical. Like you could be in a really bad situation and then you're traumatized, and also logically you realize that you were in there for no good reason.
Right.
You know, people like say, "Oh, you're just who hurt you, Shayfullah?" Like that. You know,
Right.
when they're saying that, they're implying that the reason you got to where you are is because
Is only because you have emotional pain.
Exactly.
Happens to be, I think, my personal opinion, I could be wrong, but I think majority of people that do go off the derech, I think mostly is from trauma. That's my personal opinion. I don't think most people.
The existence of trauma, though, does not mean that there can't also be a strong philosophical basis for what their lifestyle is.
Yeah, I agree.
Of course, if you were perfectly happy, I would say the numbers of people who are absolutely ecstatic to be from, they love Cholent, they love Gemara, they're not gay, they're not anything weird about them, they're having a great time. Happens to be they're too intelligent, read the wrong thing, oops, Dawkins did it, boom, I'm out. That's probably low.
That's my point.
Low. It does exist. I've met some of them.
It does exist.
It exists,
Oh, it exists.
especially if you look on the internet. But there are also two types of people who get trauma. There's types of people who get trauma and they're like, obviously, like I'm from, but like I have to be off the derech right now because Tati doesn't love me. And then there's like, there are people who are like, yeah, like no shit, I have trauma. Like this is like I grew up in somewhat of a cult. Also, none of this makes sense, or some of it doesn't make sense, or maybe this one particular part doesn't make sense.
I think what I'm going to speak for both of us here. I think what me and Label have found in the philosophical space, what he's saying is that the people that have a good relation with Judaism from a growing up standpoint and a very open space, but they love it. Even if they're philosophical, they might change their mindset in the fact that their house might be more open-minded, but their actual actions around religion don't change. Meaning how they grew up, it doesn't really change. Their actions around it and their actions around halacha don't change. They just have a more open-minded mindset to people that are not like them or people that are not.
There's a word for it. It's called orthoprax.
Can I say something that's...
Let me finish. There's a huge growing community now of people who, Mama and Tati, or one of the two, are turning the lights on and off on Shabbos.
I'm not talking about that.
No, but why wouldn't you turn the light on?
I think it stops at movies. What he's saying is like we're from, we love Hashem, but like we watch movies. You know what I mean?
God, that can't be.
No. What I'm saying is no. I don't. Maybe I'm not saying it right. I can mention a guy on the pod like that it would like make sense to me. It's like a guy like Shlomo Sprung, Rabbi Shlomo Sprung.
Yes.
Like, okay, he's an extremely frum guy, halachically frum guy. He runs a Hillel in Miami Beach, but he wears a black shirt on Shabbos. But he is, if you find him halachically, he's one of the most on point guys you will find in that regard. Like Litvish, like his kids go to Litvish places in Israel and different things, but his house is super open minded in the fact that you will never find him in imparting his whatever he does, his views on you consistently. He's just like he has a home of love. This is what I do with my religiosity because he loves Judaism and he sees the truth in it for himself. And then what ends up happening from those homes, if you're philosophical about Judaism and you're philosophical about what's happening, you realize that not everyone's come to the conclusions you've come to. Not everyone has the same journey you've come to. And because of that, you're more open-minded to the people that are in your home not being like you, but you still having that love. Practicing that halachic way.
I want to say one thing why I actually fundamentally disagree with you, and I think 95% of people that go
I'm
to
not disagree with.
No,
with
Zach.
he's looking
with
at
Zach.
Okay.
Zach. And I'm going to tell you why I think 95% of people that go off the derech, it is because of trauma, and it's not because of a philosophical thing. There's very few.
I'll try to cut you off. I think 100% of people who go off the derech go off because of trauma.
But you just made a distinction.
No. I think 100% of people who are not religious go off for philosophical reasons, and 100% of people who are off the derech go off because of trauma. That was the distinction.
What's the difference between the two?
You said that very clearly.
That was
you
the whole
said that
concept.
very clearly before.
One more time?
Non-religious people are people who are no longer religious because they have philosophically they do not believe in religion. Or because they don't think it's the right way to
so
live.
You're making that distinction.
Off the derech is someone who is from but doesn't keep halacha.
I get it. So I'm talking about the people that that are non-observant, that were observant and
So you're talking about
who have switched their mindset and think it's not true anymore. And I think if they grew up from, I personally think it's based on a trauma-based thing.
I do agree. I fully agree with that.
I'm so confused. I feel like we're going in circles. Let me just say my point for a second.
Sure.
Even people that philosophically go off the derech, I don't believe there's strong enough philosophical argument against Judaism or standard religion that is strong enough that a person will go off without a trauma happening to them. Okay, it's not like it's that for any argument that there is that's philosophical. There's an argument that to go off. There's just as much of an argument for the most part to stay on. And therefore, if someone is going off, there's typically a trauma that is happening.
Yeah,
that has
you're
made them
agreeing
go
with
off.
us. You're agreeing with us because I think that social conditioning of being raised from is a much stronger bond than most people don't have the strength of character to be a yachid and say, my whole emotional state is based, all my whole sense of safety is based in being this thing. Happens to be, I don't think it's correct.
Yeah.
Most people aren't that yachid. Most people don't have that strength of character. But to say that there's the anyone who believes differently, they just Jedi mind trick themselves into saying they don't believe a thing because really they're just traumatized is actually one of the most condescending opinions. It's something that pisses off. You're a great guy, but this is very condescending because it makes it sound like your thoughts aren't really real. You've tricked yourself because you're hurt.
Right.
How does that sound? When in fact, if you actually do some digging, there is a pretty solid basis to believe many different things. There's a solid basis for Christianity. There's a solid basis for Buddhism. There's a solid basis for everything.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that.
But if you have a good relationship from the beginning, you won't be searching for those other things.
Right, even if something's
let's
wrong.
say you put everything equal on an equal pedestal, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to go searching for other things unless you are forced to. And the people that are forced to search for other things are the people that have induced.
No, that's
If you're
right.
happy,
Not just
why
being
would you go
forced.
looking?
It's not just that's for sure, but it's not just being forced. It's also that if you're happy, you're not going to leave something on the basis that something else might be correct.
Nihilism is that.
I'm just saying it's not like
none of it's correct.
Again, my point is that it's not like there's, in my opinion, a more clear path that makes more sense, religious path that makes more sense than. It's not like there's a more clear path, not Judaism based, and religious path that makes more sense than the path that they're already on.
I mean, especially now when you start.
If you sit down with Shlomo
yeah.
Sprung, whatever thing they came up with in their head, right, of why Judaism and Yiddishkeit is not accurate, Shlomo Sprung will give a very, very strong argument as to why they're wrong and it is very accurate. So they're looking for another one, likely because of trauma, and that's fine. It's not a problem. That's just that's my opinion. I understand why people won't like what I just said, but
No, I don't not like it. I think that you're missing just one fundamental idea, which you might already know, but I do want to bring it to clear because Zach was talking about it, but I think he left it half baked. It's not just about being a yachid. You have confirmation bias. Because let's say you're 40, you're 45 and you spent the past 45 years, shaking lulav and wrapping your hand in tefillin and davening 3 times a day and marrying a frum woman and having kids and all of the fucking shit that comes with being a frum person. To wake up one day when you're 45 years old and have a single philosophical thought, you are essentially saying that every single thing, decision, thought, and moment you spent was you essentially being stupid. Or just you did not make the right decision. So it's not just about having the strength of character to do that. You have confirmation bias, and every year that goes by, you have an extra year of confirmation bias. So then they start looking for ways to justify it. If they do have a philosophical thought, like you said, they'll go to the rabbi who has the answers. I think that's a very important point here because I think the people who go off the derech, it isn't just the trauma triggering it. Like we all said, I think sometimes the trauma, is a little indicator telling you, see what else is out there. But that doesn't mean that people who go off the derech are a bunch of traumatized people. That could sound condescending, but I do chop what you're saying, and fundamentally, I do agree.
Here, I think we should jump off this topic. We've been at it for 10, 12 minutes.
We could be on this topic for a long time.
We should sprung off this topic. Sorry.
By the way, real quick to end the topic. 5 minutes ago, while this topic was happening, I was like, this is about to get into a hellfire. I knew it. I know label, I know me, and I was trying to keep it inside because we have very similar views on this, but I was like, I'm not going to engage because I know that me and Zach, I didn't think me and you or Label and you were going to get it. I thought me and Zach were going to get into a hellfire dispute because
really me and you.
Because you're more, in my opinion, just to end this topic, you're more fiery about this than, in my opinion, just around this table than Rafi is. Like you're much more fiery around this right now because you maybe because 100%. You. I don't know exactly why, but just the way
your trauma,
the way you live your life now, you are fiery around this, and and the way that people perceive certain things around whatever is going on in different communities.
To say we can all agree that, and something that this pod is doing, and it's there are still religious spaces that I like hanging out in, and it's religious spaces that, for lack of a better word, I would just call therapized.
Yeah.
Like, he's basically, once you go to enough therapy and you realize you have a certain emotional base, like, you understand that we all have such convoluted and complicated reasons why we do anything.
Yeah.
And it takes a certain amount of seeing each other. And this is, if you would like to look at it this way, and sometimes I really do like to look at it this way, it's very godly of you.
Oh, yeah.
So meet someone eye to eye and say, I can't possibly untangle the web of all the reasons why you do what you do, but I'm going to try to see you for who you are and accept that you too are trying to be a good person, not just for yourself, but for other people.
For sure. I just want to say I don't think this. I believe everyone's like. Yeah. Honestly, there are very few people that are bad people. I really believe that.
That's also a question.
I also think we have a duty to paint from people in a good light.
Very few.
You know, like we shouldn't. This is not supposed to be shitting on them at all. Like, you know, when I meet a guy, I say good things about from people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love
also,
that.
One last thing that
when I meet a guy, I spit on him in the face.
I think it's beautiful. Also, I really like this conversation because I don't think these conversations exist on a public format, which is it's going to be on YouTube, obviously. Between
thank you, Label, for creating a podcast where these type of conversations can happen.
I'm serious. I think it's great that we're having both sides of the discussion. I think that's
100%.
beautiful.
Yeah. No, I just knew. I'm just going back to. I knew that it was going to get fiery, and I was like, should we stop? And should I? I was going to chime in and like. So Rafi, what are you working on? Because I knew it was about to get fiery.
So Rafi, is God real? And are you no?
No. So
can you talk to me a minute? Could you go to the Waterbury thing for a minute? Because
no. We are done.
Leave it.
We can talk. No, we can.
2 minute timer. 2 minute timer.
2 minute timer. You were right. I am putting on the phone.
Hey Siri, set a timer for 2 minutes.
Guys, we're gonna have Rabbi Kalish as our next guest.
We have a 2 minute timer right now.
Very quickly. The reason why I have a disdain toward Waterbury, I think Rabbi Kalish is a fantastic human being. I think the establishment does an overwhelming amount of good. That is not to say either of those things are not true. It's not a diss to any
your
person
disclaimer
who
is
goes.
for legal reasons. Good. Now,
I think that Jewish yeshiva is a bacher factory. Your wife pumps out a baby, you send them out to yeshiva, and then either in 10 years you have a bacher or you don't. And so instead of going into that system and seeing where the problems are, they put a 9x13 where the water drips as a safety net, which are the schools of love. Why are there two extremes? Why is there this super culty right-wing yeshiva and then this crazy school of love where you're on a campus with 300 kids smoking drugs and Rebbe Kalish loves me? Why is it both of those extremes? Do you not see how Waterbury is essentially a 9x13? Instead of looking at the actual leak, it's sitting there catching the drips. The safety net. Oh, this kid. Oh, wow. Oh, what did the yeshiva do to you? And then now that kid goes to a school of love.
So what do you think the answer should be?
Look inside the yeshiva and see why your kids are fucked up. You know, maybe it's because it's too intense. I don't think anyone
disagrees with that. I don't think anyone disagrees
I have to say, I have to agree with Label. I think we all the people who love Waterbury know that obviously it's not enough.
You need the leak until you stop it.
The 9x13 is dangerous.
You need the bucket for the leak until you stop the leak.
The 9x13 is dangerous. If you were a landlord and you had a leak coming down, and you called the plumber, and he put he put a bucket there, and he never came back. 10 years later, there's still a bucket catching the water.
He's saying
no
we're
one
not
ever looked
doing
at that
it
leak.
because there's a water barrier to catch the
There's a
drips.
fucking bucket there, so let the drips drop. They think that's a program.
Good freaking point.
Thank you. What happens when the kids?
Yeah, okay, so I'll break it down. He's basically saying that if you're a landlord in an apartment,
they're never fixing the problem.
Because there is a bucket there.
I don't think that's true. They never will fix the problem.
Yeah, you can. You know how?
Until Label
by educating the parents.
changes the game.
By educating the parents.
What you're asking is a very idealistic and not realistic solution.
That doesn't mean you should put it away. It means you should think about it creatively.
That's a little fatalistic though, because look, yeshivas do change. 10 years ago, it'd be kind of unheard of for a Rosh Yeshiva to be like, you're kind of sad. I think you should go to a therapist. Like maybe 15 years ago.
I hear what Label's saying. There's no magic button. There's no magic button.
We should take away Waterbury right now?
No.
Let's go. No. I'm just saying like.
So here's my suggestion. I'm not just talking shit. Actually, the suggestion is educating the people. I think the parents assume I have a kid, I send them to one of the 5 yeshivas, and then I get a bacher. If I don't get a bacher, we'll deal with it when it happens. Why don't the parents understand more about what's happening in the yeshiva and how having Waterbury there as a feel safe is actually dangerous in a lot of ways? It's not a safety net, it's essentially a trap. To someone who is nihilistic, which is not myself in general, I'm just going on this thought experiment, I think it's seen as a trap. These kids are trying to almost escape to Judaism, and where they land up in is this, bucket, for lack of a better term, which is Waterbury. I think educating the parents and also the kids on exactly how that program works, I think that will make the yeshivas, at the end of the day, anyone who goes to yeshiva, they're a client of the yeshiva. I think just people understanding this problem is step one.
Okay, there's many things that I have to say on this. I don't want to get too far into it, but
Let's not
We have a timer. We have a timer.
timer we still have.
We went over it like
The
5
last
minutes.
thing-
We ever
the
got into
last-
a conversation
guys,
label
guys,
around
we
these
need a
things?
The
label?
last thing I would say. The last
We
thing
gotta
I
go
would,
back to music.
No, let me just hear his thoughts.
the last thing I would say on
Oh,
this
wow.
is
We'll get to
that
homosexuality.
that I don't think the yeshiva. I think yeshiva has problems. I don't think the yeshiva system is the problem that really needs to be fixed. I really don't. I think it all goes back to the home. I always say that. Yeah, I don't think it's the yeshiva
So
system.
parents need to be educated.
Yes, correct. I
That's
think
part of it.
people need to have. If you look at Waterbury, most of the kids that go there have totally dysfunctional homes and bad. They come from dysfunctional parents.
So do a lot of kids in the yeshiva that end up being rabbis. So do they. It
Again,
goes both
it has
ways.
its problems. I'm not saying it
goes
doesn't
both
have its
ways.
problems. Anyways, moving on.
Wait. I was just gonna say you go into homosexuality. Are we gonna ask when did you become gay and when did you?
Sure. So I'm
So
the
like not when did you become gay? When did you define? I don't know how this shit works. When did you come out? Number one. When no, there's none. Not when did you become? When did you?
He means well.
I mean well. When did you come out?
When did the gay get on you?
And when did the gay spider sick on you and pee on you? No, when did you come out and when did you like for yourself? Realize where you realized when you were like a 5-year-old? Did you realize? There you go.
Right. So honestly, this one ties into Judaism a lot, and I'm glad you brought it up. There's a lot to say there. So my opinions on this are, I don't think that the sky ever came out as blue. My blood type is B positive. I never came out of the closet as, oh, I'm a B positive. I think that the whole concept of coming out or being hidden is just a product of stupidity and stigma. And so I never came out. I don't think there was ever a consistent point in my life where I was walking around telling people like, yo, I fuck mad bitches. Ew, ugh, gay people. No, that I there was never a point in my life. And in yeshiva, part of why I got into trouble was because when people asked me if I was gay, I said, yes, I am. And so even there was a point where the rabbis didn't like that people were talking about my homosexuality, and they told me that I should put my hands in my pockets because as a homosexual, or just as an expressive person, sometimes my hands move a lot when I talk. They were like, what if you put your hands in your pockets so people don't call you gay? You know, so...
Hold on. Did you hear that people called you gay?
It was not fun in the moment because a lot of them had derogatory elements to them, but there were a lot of gay kids in yeshiva that did go around saying I fuck mad bitches. And in a lot of ways I looked at myself, I'm putting myself on a pedestal, but I saw myself almost like it's like a light tower because I was sort of like a hub where kids can
Feel safe.
to like, be honest.
Yeah, not everyone has that confidence, like to just as a. I guess maybe you're saying because your father was very open-minded and the way you grew up. Like, how did you have that confidence?
Also,
like,
let's give Rafi some credit. Just
No, I'm
as
going to give you credit.
extraordinarily confident.
No, but
in
like
yourself
first of all, you
person.
are based on just being a 12-year-old and doing what you were doing with music and everything. Obviously, you're a very confident human being. You're 20 years old and you're running music production for most of like the Jewish, But like most people that are 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old don't have the confidence just to be like, I'm gay. Fuck it, bitches. I'm gay.
It helped that I had other gay people at home. I was not the only gay person
right.
at home.
Right.
And also,
You had
I was
support.
I feel like I was kind of liberated from a young age. I did have a brother. My brother Ellie was like so like supportive. All the stupid shit that went through my head. I used to cross dress a lot and like put like shmatas in my head, pretend I was long hair, and like he was always like clapping. And like I give him a lot of credit for that. He was definitely. He was also like just a smart person, so he always had
You got
good
a
things to
supportive
say.
figure. That's a major difference. Most people that are, I would say, most
But
people.
he was not out of the closet at that time, I should mention.
Got
I
it.
came out of the closet before he did.
But you just said that there was no such thing as coming out of the closet for you.
Okay, what I mean is that he came out of the closet. So by
Okay, so
virtue
he-
of that, I was out before him.
I like what you said.
He
about-
was a secret for the larger part of his life. For me, it was
Right.
not
So
a
you're
secret.
just saying-
You were never a secret at the end of the day. But from the second that you hit your puberty and you were,
A sexual
horny,
person.
you're a sexual
I
person.
knew pretty early on. I understood that gay meant someone was attracted to people. And like when you're 12 years old, you don't even understand what the word attraction means. But you have thoughts in your brain and you kind of put different things together. And like you hear other people talking about girls and I'm like, what? Like I was not living for that at all.
Did you have it about guys at that same age that guys
Sure,
were?
I will tell you. I mean, I don't know if I can talk about this on a podcast, but I definitely experienced, I guess, puberty in this way quite young. I experienced sexual urges quite young.
Okay. And those were for men.
For men, yeah.
Got it,
Or
okay.
at that time was my peers, the boys who were my age. I definitely experienced those. I never had people talk about these like, they're like gay yeshiva stories. I never experienced that because I was not sexually liberated. I knew that I was different and I felt isolated because of that. And so I always like, just kind of suppressed any sexuality, in terms of actually doing it, not in terms of talking about it.
Right.
For the larger part of that. but there's a lot of homosexuality in Judaism, and it manifests in some pretty interesting.
What kind of
Oh,
ways?
explain, yeah.
Well, the first thing is that people underestimate how many gay people there are, and it's impossible to get a normal poll, because of the stigma. Not enough people are ever going to be fully honest, and also a lot of people change back and forth. People have fluidity. I personally don't experience that, but you don't realize how many people in the Frum community are actually gay. There's an app called Grindr, where it's like a kind of down low app where you go on it. It shows the people who are closest to you in proximity. It is a gay sex app. And
It's Tinder for.
it is not Tinder.
It's Tinder on steroids.
Tinder. Tinder is like, oh, swipe. There's no swiping. They show you the people who are close to you. It says maybe 150 feet away, 200 feet away. And they're just profiles. You hit them up and you say like, looking for now. And they're like, yeah.
Oh, you don't have to swipe right or left. You can just hit people up.
You just hit people up and they're close to you.
God, I wish Tinder was like that. That's crazy. You just hear. That's like going. You
know
just
why?
walking into a bar's meeting like, yo.
You know why?
without any filter.
That is how homosexuality is in a lot of ways.
Right, I was going to say that. Everyone says the reason why it's probably like that on Grindr is because they're
Not
very
fully
horny.
true, by the way. There's more to say on that, but to this point, there's a lot from people. I'm talking about married people, rabbis, doctors, people I've known in my childhood. The amount of Frum people on Grindr that I encounter on a daily basis would alarm you. And a lot of them are.
Time out. There are rabbis that you know that are on Grindr.
Yes.
Bro, this is
Bro, wow.
This is good content.
Whoa! Stop. Like real, like legit, like black hat people.
Legit. They're Hasidim. There's a Hasidim.
Hasidish. That doesn't mean anything to me. A rabbi. That's.
Yeah. There's like full rabbis, people in the community, people who have wives and kids, and a lot of them are very sexually suppressed because not only don't they get to express their sexuality, they don't get to express any like let off at all. And so they're willing to pay money and it has to be a big secret, and like they'll settle for very little. Like a lot of them have trauma, like so they won't do certain things, but they'll like pay you for pictures.
Here's my question: do you
people gay feet pics is like a big thing in the rabbi found
on Grindr, right? Do people show their faces?
So some people show their faces, some people don't. A lot of people don't. What you could do is after you talk to someone, you could send them so you could see.
There's no profile like.
There's no profile photo. You have to ask for it unless they put one up. I put one up because I'm like, Christ, you want to see what I look like? I mean, if you have any standards, you put one up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people who are like hiding in the closet,
Interesting.
they don't want people to know. And so also, we should know the amount of like.
I mean, a rabbi is not going to put his picture up with him in a black hat and a Gemara.
That would be unbelievable. You have a guy looking for other guys' rivals.
You guys are laughing at it, but I swear to you, there is. I've seen Chassin Kal. I've seen pictures under the chuppah sent to me. I've seen pictures with Svarim shrunks in the background. You know, there's a famous scene in Unorthodox where he puts on a cap and he puts his face underneath it, and he goes, "How'd they will know I am Jewish?" It's literally exactly that. They're all like. You see like Svarim shrunks,
It's
but they're
so
wearing
funny
a cap.
and so sad at the same time.
It's.
I am flabbergasted.
So, but Dan, that's the main point. The main point is that there are way more gay Frum people.
That's
than you
for
think
sure.
There are way more, and they act on it. And what I learned also, connecting with a few people from Yeshiva a couple of years later, there was some gay action going on in Yeshiva I didn't know about at the time. A lot more people have at least experimented. The point is that there's way more homosexuality is way more prevalent than you think it is. So now the question is, when you grow up Frum, there's only really one of three things that can happen. Either you could be that old guy, who's not married and he believes in Hashem, and you run out of shul by Elenu because you know he's gonna ask you to come home for the meal. Like it's that guy who's in the community, whatever. He's single,
Right.
and people wonder why he's single. They wonder if he's special needs. I looked at myself when I was younger. I'm like, I don't need that life for myself. I have dignity, so I canceled that out. Or what you could do. You can go ahead and marry a Frum girl, and you don't tell her. You have your needs met. You have this very nice. My rabbi gave me a heter. I had people in Grindr tell me the rabbi gave them a heter. So you have your nice. You marry a girl. Either you tell her, and it's a whole chaotic situation, or you don't tell her, and it's unfair.
By the way, time out. You could get a heter. Is that such a thing?
Rabbis say lots of weird shit. Okay.
Okay.
The rabbi's job is to keep as many people in the tribe and look like they're in the
Boom. Facts.
That's true.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, look who's playing fast and loose with halacha now.
Listen,
eh?
as long as you're wearing a
I've never
hat,
heard
as
that.
long as you're wearing a hat and jacket, you have kids, you have a family, you have a Shabbos, then whatever. You have your nice, very nice. I'm not chas v'shalom judgmental. You have your nice, very nice. You have your nice, very nice.
At least they're not judgmental.
So what's the first thing important to know, like I said, is that a lot of people are like it. And secondly, the next, so I thought for myself, I could never go marry a woman and not tell her. And I had a Rebbe who told me, what do you mean? Why not? I said, can I marry your daughter? And of course, suddenly it switches. You would never give your daughter anyone who thinks, why not? Because marry a woman, you could do it, whatever, you'll make it happen. You know, if you wouldn't give your daughter to a guy who says he's gay, then don't tell gay people to marry a woman. And I've said this to rabbis, and they've never given me a good answer. So the last option is you realize if you still have Frum beliefs, I'm going to, you know, I'm a Frum person. I believe in God. I do what I do. I'm going to go up to heaven with 612 mitzvahs and a very good excuse. And I stand by that. For me, my atheism has nothing to do with my homosexuality. It is a completely separate equation.
Oh, you're atheist?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I didn't even know.
Right.
I didn't know
He's
that.
making a good point. He's dichotomizing them.
Got it. No, I didn't know that.
That's
now
what's
let's dive
important to
into
know
that.
about Jewish homosexuality.
Got it.
So I have a question, dovetailing with these two things. I don't know when you first started doubting God, but it sounds like you were really like gay and open, and at least open about it, and to a certain extent, maybe not proud. I don't know, but like you were okay with it and knew who you were from a young age. Did you have years where that overlapped with Frum beliefs? And if so, how did you feel about? This is a pretty personal question, but how did you feel about God in regards to that?
I was like, holy shit, I'm fucked. I was like, oh no, I genuinely was like, what does Hashem want me to do? And here's the thing.
Yeah.
I went to dozens of rabbis. I drove around town. I met with Moshe Meir Weiss, I Mizrahi. I drove around town. Rebecca. I sat there and I walked into each one of them and I asked them these questions. Moshe Feiglin was amazing. He's awesome. I asked them these questions and they all give me different answers. Some of them were like, but what do you mean, a wife? You know, some of them say you need to go to conversion therapy. Or mainly the Chabad rabbis were like, listen, I get it. It sucks. Just know you're normal. There's no good
Points on the board for Chabad again.
Yeah, by the way, that sounds like a Chabad take in any, like, it doesn't veer away from anything, that they're always open-minded in general around, like, people and their individuality.
Just on the things Chabad gets right.
100%.
I'm not saying they're not.
And Label will be the devil's advocate, tell you all the things that Chabad gets wrong.
No, I have no problem.
Label loves Chabad, but there is twofold. Everything has pros and cons.
Exactly.
That's the way it is.
Tuck your damn shirts in.
The Yeshiva belt has pros and cons. The modern Orthodox belt has pros and cons. Everything has pros and cons. Chabad has pros and cons too.
But I'm just saying, this is a common occurrence that people are like, yeah, but Chabad rabbis get it.
For sure.
They just get a lot of things on the
100%.
emotional, how to deal with people.
Yeah.
There's one guy, I'll say this right now. There's one guy.
We mentioned him already.
Yeah.
Chabad.
He is.
You love him, yeah.
I love him, and he's a Chabad, and he's.
Let's get him on board.
I love him. He's unbelievable.
We'll cut this clip and send it to him.
Yeah.
Damn.
He would love it.
Yeah.
Chase, please come on.
Here's my question. When you were at Zucker's, right, in high school, 9th to 10th grade, you already knew you were gay at that point,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Okay. Did they keep you around did they knew you were gay at the time?
Yes, I was pretty open.
And they let you, do you think the reason why they asked you to leave was because you were gay and it was getting out of control for them?
Yes and no. A lot of it was a lot of dissonance. A lot of people were talking about it, and that made me uncomfortable. And I went to tell the rabbis. One of them was like, no, you're totally not. And my mom was like, you're totally not. Do you want me to Google what it means? And I was like, I hooked up with a guy last night. You know what I mean? I swear to God. So he was canceled for me right away. And then here's what I want to talk about. There's a guy, I don't know if you know. He was a Rebbe.
That's the way. Say the last
by the
name.
way, I don't know who that guy is, but there's so many chuz in there.
He was my 10th grade.
Oh,
Rebbe.
his grandparents in Europe used to handle fruchts.
Yeah, these are rich people. Anyway, the biggest grim.
Oh. I knew the. Okay. Go on.
So he was my Rebbe, and he's great with humans. He's a fabulous talker. He's very empathetic. He understands life and humans well. And so I trusted him. We had a long conversation. He took me out to pizza, and we spoke.
The classic Rebbe move. Take you out to pizza now.
I told him.
Did he go to the bathroom with you?
I told him everything, the thick and the thin. Now here's the thing. I had
I've been holding my myself back about it because we had a great conversation. I've been holding myself back for like an hour and 10 minutes from sex jokes because you know me. Like,
Also, not just
I
that.
love making these types of jokes.
Me and Shmuley are such good friends. We instantly just turn around and
You know.
automatically.
I've been stopped for an hour and 10 minutes because I know that like we can just start making tons of jokes. I'm like, no, we're gonna make this pod a good. We're gonna make this pod a good pod.
Exactly.
And I'm like, but this is my one time. Like I needed.
I think there needs to be more dick jokes on the pod. Personally,
I needed this laugh.
Rafi, go on.
So I told them all the stuff, and then essentially, I had a very, very, very nice job in Kent Morris. So I was getting paid nicely, and I worked with kindergarten kids. I was essentially a bunk leader, and I was together with my friend Joe Stiller. And essentially, my friend Taylor, he's synonymous with Kent Morris, and he was a big part of like how the administration there works in terms of getting the job. It was his job, like deal with people getting the job. And so, in the beginning of the year, I was honest with him. We had all these conversations. We spoke about it. He told me you would help me. He said he doesn't judge me. He said, Rafi, I still love you. And then what he did was, as the year came to an end, I told him, like, oh, I'm assuming I'm having my job again. He's like, well, listen, I learned this year that you're gay. Like, I don't trust you around the kids. And so that really got cut deep for me. I was like, what do you mean? I'm not attracted to children. I'm just homosexual. And he's like, I would put my son in your bunk, but I can't take the risk. So I really wanted this job. I told him, like, listen, what can I possibly do? So he gave me this phone number to this sketchy ass conversion therapist. And my father, I didn't tell my father why. He drove me back into Flatbush because this was upstate. And he drove me back into Flatbush. I met with this guy in Borough Park. Upstairs, no, like, it's not an office. It was like an attic of like an old Borough Park complex. And this guy just sat there asking me like invasive questions about like my sexual interests and whatnot. Like very invasive stuff. Like, looking back, he was probably like, "What else do you like?"
that's literally what my mind went to. Yeah.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Very invasive questions, and I was honest. And then at the end,
Asked you for feed pics at the end of the session.
Kilu. So eventually I left, and then Rabbi Fruchtown, said, like, okay, where's the document? I was like, what do you mean, what document? You need to sign a document that you're not going to rape any kids.
Ouch.
And I realized that this guy, and I have the email, I have everything. I was flabbergasted, obviously. So that went.
I understand. You told me that he's super empathetic and people's person, so clearly not.
I felt betrayed at the time because he was so kind to me, and he told me I love you, and he would take care of me and invite me over for Shabbos, and then he backstabbed me in this crazy way. I was like, I mean, you don't judge him for it, but a little bit.
I don't know the numbers, but like maybe I'm not like. Are gay people more pedophiles than
Actually, no.
Gay people,
numbers.
like, I don't like that.
There
That's
are
not like,
numbers.
But not just that. That's
where does it come from?
Right.
Like,
So the
he's
numbers
jumping
shouldn't even-
conclusions. He's jumping conclusions. Like, if it's one thing that he wouldn't want you teaching other kids like about homosexuality, I'm like, if he wants to like somehow convince in his brain that you're putting in thoughts into people's things that's against their agenda, fine. But like. The thought of pedophilia, like, why is
does
that?
pedophilia have anything to do with?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's it have to do with? Like,
Because
it has to-
they don't
it is an
know.
orient-
They're
it's a sexual
uneducated.
orientation.
No, but
They're
I'm saying-
uneducated.
It's not.
but what's it have to do with what I'm saying?
design.
You say, like, what's it have to do with being gay or not gay? It's like it's
People have that kind of dogma because they're not educated and they were told it's bad. And so, actually, there is a statistic. There are 4 categories that any, pedophilia or like child rape case can go down in. Either you could have an adult man who abuses a young girl, or you could have an adult woman who abuses a young boy, or you could have a boy who abuses a boy and a girl who abuses a boy. Out of the 4 of them, the one who has the least documented cases are adult man on child man. So the whole thought of putting them together is completely bullshit.
What I'm just trying to understand, and maybe you were answering this before, but to me, pedophilia is a totally separate thing.
Yeah,
like
that's
the odds of pedophilia
people.
happening is the same with a woman.
It's about
That's what we're
deviance.
saying. That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying.
It's
That's what we're saying.
about
Yeah.
It
A
makes no
lot
sense.
of Frum people are not educated, and so they think anyone who is deviant
Into men.
is very extremely deviant.
It's not just deviant. It's someone who's a pedophile.
Uneducated.
No, they
You're
think that
uneducated.
anyone that is not like
Into
them,
women, right.
someone that's not like them, and because in the Jewish world it's demonized to be, or it's a
Anything
stigma to be anything but
heterosexual,
straight, right?
right.
So therefore now we're equating all the things that are quote unquote bad in society.
Yeah.
Right?
I do want to make a point, and I think you would agree to it. This is obviously not true for everyone. In my experience, homosexuality hasn't been demonized. It's been stigmatized. Those are 2 different things.
To be fair, we grew up quite differently.
We did grow up different. I thank God every single day that I did not grow up in Flatbush. Grew up in out of town. But in the Chavetz Chaim, like in that world, there's a stigma that's going to come along with like the fact that most halachic Jews believe that it's against halacha, but it's not demonized in a lot of.
It's only interpersonal in the yeshiva.
That's what I was gonna say. For how we grew up, it was stigmatized. But I think
Can you explain the difference?
Stigmatized is that
Stigma is like, that's not a stigma. Is like, listen, that's against halacha. You're not going to really meet a lot of them. Right. It's the Torah says. Demonized is like they're evil. They lurk amongst us. It's horrible. I hate you.
But where is it demonized?
In yeshiva, it is demonized. In Ar Yisrael on Avenue P, it's demonized.
From the Rebbeim though, from the Rebbeim down.
No, it's stigma. They think you're a bad person. They think you're evil.
Quite literally, yes. Wow. They literally say you are disgusting. We literally had you sharing like these disgusting gay people. It's a manovel.
But that's different than being demonized.
What's the word?
That is literally that is demonized.
Stigmatized is like
stigma is not personal. Stigma is more passive.
Right. Stigmatized is I would say like people going to rehab. That's stigma. It's stigmatized. Like people going to rehab is stigmatized. But you're not a bad person. You just go through struggles, and I don't want those struggles.
You went to rehab, you sick fuck.
Exactly. Right. It's different. It's different. It's more like you went to rehab. I have sympathy for you or something. And then there's you went to rehab. You're a fucking
right.
You're messed up.
Different.
You're wrong.
So back to the time.
Wait, I want to say something real quick. I always found it very telling. When I was in yeshiva and I like first started like arguing stuff, I found it very telling that all of a sudden around the gay thing, guys in yeshiva, not even the Rebbeim really weren't so involved in these conversations in Chavetz Chaim. Thank God. I think they're much more normal than what you grew up with. But like the guys, there would always be guys who'd be like argue like, what do you mean? It's manovel. It's an abomination. I was like,
abomination. They like that.
It's weird though.
Because that's what
it's
Torah.
But I'm like, it's weird because lashon hara is so bad. I'm like, you never hear a guy who's like, yeah, that guy's such a lashon hara. Like. It kills your boner. Just admit the truth, which is that you just think it's not what gets you off, and therefore it's weird.
It's called judgmentalness.
Just be open about that. You don't all of a sudden take up the gauntlet of God. No, God hates. Relax. God hates a lot of things that you don't care about. This just kills your boner. Lashon hara doesn't kill your boner. So be open about it.
Yeah, so what's the reason you think that it has such a strong demonization as opposed to
fiery right now? Zach gets fiery.
No, you make
these are all the things I wanted to tell guys when I was in yeshiva and I didn't.
Hold on 1 second. So what's the reason that you think it has so much stronger demonization?
A few special reasons.
Let's ask the resident gamer.
A few special reasons. The first special reason is because a lot of people are gay but are insecure, and so homophobia becomes more and more manifested because now it becomes among your peers. Becomes among your peers.
Okay. I don't think that's the reason, but yeah, go on.
I said a few special reasons.
Okay.
Another special reason is that sex in general is taboo. And the third reason is that if someone is not gay, then they can't relate to it, and if they're judgmental, anything you can't relate to is not normal. And if you are gay and you need to compensate for it by being extra homophobic, I'm not saying that everyone who's homophobic is gay. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you are not gay, then you can't relate. And if you are gay but you feel the need to hide it, you have extra insecurity, which very often manifests into big homophobia. I've had people in yeshiva who were so homophobic to me, who bothered me every single day, and now are hitting me up, years later asking me to have sex with them. That is something that I've personally experienced.
No, that's terrible. Someone who's homophobic and is making
wild.
There's got to be a way to get back. I'm just thinking revenge. There's got to be a way to get back.
There's got to be a way that you can just like.
I don't
just
judge them. I don't judge them. I know what they were going through. I don't judge them at all.
You're a better person than we are.
Right. He actually understands. He actually understands what they were going through. I mean, obviously, there's no. That's very sad. It's a terrible thing, obviously, but I do think that there's a part in this. I don't know halakha. I would have to ask some other people, but I do think there's a part with how the Torah talks about it that definitely contributes to this.
I believe the Torah calls 12 things at different points an abomination.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
it does.
That's
not true. No, it doesn't. It's the only place in the Torah calls something an abomination.
It's not true.
What's not?
It's not true.
Specifically, but two things: by anger. Anger's a teva, and also by lashon hara is a teva.
Really? Okay. Maybe
what I was quoting was more like the Sfarim, like after the Torah.
But that's my point.
No,
in
but
the Torah it says
he's saying in the Torah there's two other things.
I believe it's mentioned. I'm
going to find out about that.
If we had a Jamie, we would know. Even
God
if it is the only thing. You know what else? So an old ancient book says, the word teva. People read it. You know what else that old ancient book says? It says lots of things, but this is one thing that it used to take super literally.
Yeah, no, I think the reason why it's taken so seriously is because of this fact. You're saying it's in two other places. I remember hearing that it is the only thing.
You know what else, by the way? Bestiality doesn't get a teva. Which is so crazy to me because, like,
Right.
I mean, if I was a dogmatic Jewish person, like, which one is worse?
Right.
Can we be honest? Also, you know what else? You know what else is not a teva, by the way? If you cheat with your friend's
Well,
wife.
it does say you're supposed to feed the animals first.
I mean, that is,
Oh, that's fact.
there is Ish. I mean, it's a very, very
Yeah,
serious.
that's not a teva. So you
there
think
is
that
some-
two consensual people is less disgusting than cheating with your, like, to me, that was just right away a big red flag.
Interesting. I hear. I don't want to get into all the.
Totally. We should not get into Torah semantics.
No, I want to. This might come out of left field, but like just in general, gay people that I've come around in general, you have the flamboyant ones. I'm going straight for it, right, man?
Wait,
No, gay people I've come around. You have the flamboyant ones. You have the people that are just they're gay, and to me, I've always said, like, I'm telling you, like, I've always said this. I have zero problem in any way how people live their lives. My always issue in general, and it can be from a person that's gay to a person that's like a super sexual person that's straight. If they're putting it in front of your face consistently, it's like, do you find for yourself, because meeting you for an hour and a half right now, right? You're just a normal dude that I'm gay, like big fucking whip. Like it wouldn't even cross my mind next time I meet you. It doesn't make a difference to me.
Right.
Like
100%.
Do you find that like the people that you meet in the Jewish community, because I'm gonna say straight in the Jewish community, are more like you, or do you find that they have to that they have to separate themselves, and that separation sometimes gets misconstrued by other people?
Some and some.
Are you talking about the gay people? Could you just elaborate on your
Yeah,
question?
gay people in general. I'm saying gay people in the Jewish community. I'm not.
You're asking whether or not gay people in the Jewish community are very flamboyant versus just being normal.
Right.
But here's the thing. In general,
And do you think the flamboyancy? You're a gay guy. Do you think the flamboyancy is a expression of suppression from like when you were younger and now I have to get it all out, or do you think like it's just their personality?
okay, that's a whole separate thing, which I can also address. Firstly, regarding the whole rubbing it in my face thing, I think that people love hack in general. Whenever someone comes out that someone's gay, everyone's forwarding it, putting it on chats, people talking about me on chats. I don't like that people come up to me and say, oh, I have nothing against gay people. Just don't rub it in my face. Bitch, you rubbed it in your own face. Why are you sending it? Why are you talking about me? You know what I mean? I think however people choose to express themselves, whether they use their hands a lot or wear earrings, like anyone who has a job doesn't care. And so when people say you're rubbing it in my face, you're rubbing it in your own face. You know what I'm saying? You're the one talking about it and sending it around. When, at least for me, when I was in Yeshiva, remember when Leah Forster, she got outed, right? She was outed.
By who?
Someone filmed her dancing in a club, and she was married to a guy at the time. Should have her on the podcast. Anyway,
We plan it.
everyone started sending it around to chats and talking about it, like, and then it's like, oh, she's rubbing it in our face.
I was saying more on
I don't
one-on-one
think-
interactions.
Yeah, I
wasn't saying it. I guess like
don't
because
think
I'm
you're-
not a hawker, so like in general, I'm not forwarding.
Do you
things
mean in
that-
terms like the practical flamboyance?
the practical flamboyancy versus just like, to me, when I meet you right now, besides for like a couple, like just from him telling me that you're gay, I wouldn't know it.
Yes,
I wouldn't
exactly.
know it from you sitting here, right?
Exactly.
You're just gay. Like I would not know it.
So I'm going to talk out of my ass a little bit right now, and I could be totally wrong, but I have a strong conviction about this. I feel like every person has who they are at their core, and then they also have how they want to be perceived, tied with however pretentious or performative they get around other people. For example, I'm talking out of my ass. A straight person might be more bro-y when he's meeting new people. He might be, he might take his straightness and, for lack of a better term, or what is at his core, and that manifests in certain ways. They say bro more times in a sentence when you meet someone. I don't know if you ever noticed that. A lot of straight people will the way you act around someone new, or like when you're put on a pedestal in front of other people, there's a little bit, it's your core is still there, but you become a little bit more performative. But your direction is bro-y, which is normal. For gay people, when I meet new people, sometimes I get ditzy. So I was like, oh my God, that's like totally crazy. Like sometimes like, oh my God, I really talk like this sometimes. Like I really do it sometimes. Like there are times where I do that. At my core, I'm that, but a lot less. When I meet people, the way I get performative is in that way. So I don't get why people think it's a thing. It's so performative only when gay people do it. I think straight people and everyone does it in their own way based on how they want to be perceived.
Hold on. I've been around gay people that I think the level of flamboyance Shmuley is referring to is even more than the guy who's like bro, right?
No.
I've been around.
I'll say it better. The guy that's a bro, that is flamboyantly bro, the Chads, get the names. You're a Chad. You're a fucking Chad. No one wants to be around a Chad. No one wants to be around a person that's like the dick fraternity guy throughout his entire life, right? When you're 20 years old, it's fine. When you're 18 years old, but then when you're Chad at 32 years old and you're like, yo, bro, I lift at the gym. What the fuck is up, man? Yo, you want to crush a beer?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they eventually, it's like, bro, stop being a Chad so hard. Like, like that's it comes out of
then stop being a fag so hard.
That's what I'm saying.
Totally.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, do you find that people are more in, I guess, like the ratio, or do you think it's just the normal, normal amongst everything?
I think people exaggerate everything always, even when you talk about it and even when they do it. I think as long as you're not hurting someone, who the fuck cares? And if you find their flamboyancy annoying, then just don't fucking talk to them. You know, like if the Chad is allowed to be Chad for as long as he wants to be Chad. I don't think it's a problem with
it's more like where it's coming
thinking
from.
Someone's right. That's what I was saying about the whole core thing. You know, but I have a lot of gay friends, quite a lot of gay friends. Tons of gay friends, actually.
I would imagine.
And they're not all of them are all, crazy in your face. There's a time and place for it, by the way. When we go clubbing, suddenly the light switch turns on. We're like, oh my God, that is so crazy.
100%. It's like, okay, so for me, what I'm saying, like, is when
I love this guy.
Yeah, I love you. Like when for me, it's like when Chad's doing it at 32 years old. Okay, so if you're at a baseball game, you've had 4 beers, go be Chad, but don't be Chad everywhere. Like when you're 32 years old, at some point it's coming out of a place of insecurity that you have to be that guy.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I'm saying?
That is absolutely and utterly correct.
So my thing is like the flamboyancy of the gay of gay people when they're like just walking around the mall or like they're literally just walking around the street or doing it. To me, like I will say this, and it could be judgmental. I think it comes from a place of insecurity. Now, if it's in a space where you're gay, like where your performative comes out, that's different. But to do it at all times is like if Chad's doing it at all times, if he's in the grocery store. I feel like you're
saying a lot of words to basically just say your point, was that you think that there's a lot of adult older gay men that might have some insecurity, to which I would say, no fucking shit, they're gay in America.
Yeah, of course, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's absolutely a fair point. And is it more prevalent in the Jews because it's more suppressed? Not necessarily. I think some of the gay Jews I met are some of the most philosophical people I've ever met in my life, frankly, because they've had to think about life on like 2 really crazy parameters.
Yeah,
I also think you said something. I think you said something very important earlier, which is that like unless you're hurting someone, like if someone's flamboyancy, if someone's Chadness, if someone's anything,
for sure, you can just decide.
You can just decide not to. It's honestly, it's probably a lot of fun. This is something that I always think about all the time as like a creative person is they also honestly like. And this is why there's a lot of like the politics of like the softer men versus toxic masculinity. Gay men almost get a pass in society where like, they're gay, so he's allowed to be flamboyant. There's almost a certain allowed in straight culture. It's actually looked down on for some. I mean, in some circles,
to be super straight.
For men, for men to be flamboyant.
Oh,
and when they're not gay.
In LA,
What do you mean by flamboyant when they're not gay? Explain what that means.
Depends where the norms are, where you are.
Right.
Could you just explain what that means to be flamboyant when they're not gay?
Like there's a certain amount of like
everyone from LA.
No, to be the opposite. That you're to have tons of femininity.
Yeah, or just be very expressive.
Oh, got it.
Right. No,
I think that toxic masculinity has also stopped people from. It has made people who are like, let's say, same straight as everyone else, but they happen to have their performative is straight. Like their performative is Chad, that they're looked down upon now because it's toxic masculinity, or maybe they're
there are very good,
or maybe they're
dudes.
just broy dudes. Like maybe he's just a super broy dude, and it's not toxic masculinity. One of my favorite
places to hang out on the internet are these like groups for like gym bros to like, but they're very progressive, like they're very pro LGBTQ, whatever, but like. They're very broy.
Especially in the shower.
And they're very, hey. But they're just like, yo, you drop this, king. Like, what are you lifting, bro? Like, I love that. I love, like, positive bro energy.
It's definitely a vibe to get into. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, I was hanging out with someone gay like 3 weeks ago.
Can I just say I love you saying that?
I love that.
As it came out of my mouth.
Nobody loves the gay community more than me. I love the gays.
I've had a gay.
I was hanging out with a few gay people, actually.
Sorry. I'll have you know, I know several gay men.
1 second, he just went from, I hung out with one, I have several gay men that I know. They're flamboyant, the most flamboyant.
They come on my back. We have a great time.
Okay. On both sides.
Happens to be they were really, really nice guys. Like truly, like I would hang out with them again, but the
But unfortunately, they were gay.
was insane. It was like lipstick, makeup, like short. It was really, really intense, and I was just like I was a little caught off guard. They weren't like
you were uncomfortable.
The label saying is that he accepts you now that you're presenting mostly straight, but if you were to ever act extra gay around him, he might not want to hang out with you again.
How about this?
No.
Do you know-
I mean, there is a level. First
He's
of all,
saying if you
can
were
I
to
ask one
act
question?
extra gay in certain
sorry, let me tell you
scenarios, he'd
coming off.
understand.
No problem.
No.
I'll own it. Let me ask you a question. Is there a level of where you're making someone super, or a lot of people super uncomfortable, where you should be
It
sensitive?
sounds like you were hanging out with several gay men and you were just the token straight there, maybe?
No,
In
no,
which
no,
case, let them act
Everyone
how
should
they
be
want.
sensitive always.
No. Hold on one second.
I don't think it's a chiddush.
Were they kissing you or they were just wearing a dress?
That doesn't mean that you're not making other people super uncomfortable.
Maybe that's
It was most
your-
people. It was
Here's where I disagree.
was
with you. I
asking.
think if you want to wear a fucking dress and lipstick and it's making other people uncomfortable, unless you're at a goddamn like family funeral, like keep wearing it. Like let them be uncomfortable. They can
What's
stay
wrong
mad.
with family funeral?
yeah.
Or maybe
Honestly,
someone
may-
is-
One person.
you're-
No. I want to hear this.
Wait. What I was saying, okay. You could, first of all, if you are trans or a crossdresser, you absolutely you can definitely wear a dress to the funeral. I was saying don't come in like voguing into the funeral, but we're talking about like if you're allowed to express who you want to be, even the pretentious part of you. I don't know. You're allowed to wear skinny jeans wherever you want. Like, why you gotta be so Zach? Why do you have to wear like a hipster hat? I don't know. Like, it's literally the same thing. It's just how we dress. It's just how they want to present themselves. What? Dude, do you have to carry the guitar with you everywhere we get it? You're a musician.
Tzvi Levine.
No, I
like
don't think
Tzvi
that's the
Levine,
same
you
thing.
have to walk around looking like you
don't
do.
think
No,
that's
but
the
if
same
someone
thing.
was being Chad at every single
Right.
moment, there would be like, dude, you're making me uncomfortable. Like,
Exactly.
stop
Don't be
chatting
friends
so
with
much.
them.
So don't be friends with them. Don't hang out with them.
Okay, yeah, no, for sure. I don't disagree with that.
know what drag is?
It happens to be I was with a bunch of people. I was with a bunch of people that were totally straight. They weren't the majority there.
All right.
They were the minority. Well, which they're normally going to be,
Yeah.
right? Because even a guy like Shmuley said, I would never know Rafi is gay. Like in
Wait,
a
I
million,
wanted you to blow
most
their
people
minds
don't
because
know that.
they definitely don't. I don't know if they probably know what drag is, but they don't know that you perform it, and you should tell them because it's. Do you
I
guys know what drag
We're in the
is?
middle of saying
course.
the thought.
what's drag?
Okay, drag is essentially an art form. It's a very old art form where essentially the way it started was in Shakespeare plays, people would not be able to, no women performed, so only men performed. Eventually, what it became in nowadays, roughly, says like tons of gay history squished into one sentence. Essentially, a lot of people, not only gay people, a lot of gay people, there's this performance that happens in the gay clubs where it's like super exaggerated makeup, super exaggerated hair, super exaggerated outfits. And these people are some of the most talented people on the planet because not only do they sing, they dance, they sew dresses, they literally do such a wide plethora of talent so well that they perform it. They get hired for shows. In fact, a famous one like Trixie Mattel or Bianca Del Rio have sold out huge theaters. At expensive tickets. So it's a very popular art form. So essentially what happens is in the gay clubs, you have these performers who they perform the art of drag, where they have the outfits, they put together the fashion for it, they do the makeup for it, they do the hair for it, and they lip sync, perform, dance, do stand-up comedy. It is a huge thing. There's reality TV shows about it, kind of like AGT, where they give out millions of dollars a year. Anyway, so I have indulged myself in the art of drag. I've performed at a gay club.
What's your name?
My name was Hajar, aka Hagar from the Torah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure. I have so much to say on that. That's hilarious.
So essentially, I'd love to show you a picture or a video, but
my name was Abe.
I would love to see
my name
Label
was
watch
Abe.
that video.
My name was Abe after Avram Avinu.
essentially the songs I performed to. Funnily enough, I decided to sort of do a troll, and I performed to Ut Ut by Miami Boys Choir, and I don't know if you remember, yeah,
Yeah, of course.
Are you guys? These guys were in the Yeshiva boys.
Yeah.
Different crew, but yeah.
Oh my goodness!
By the way, someone
You
came
knew
over
that.
to me
Did you
and
not
literally,
No, I knew that about you, but I'm putting
also,
everything
yeah.
together. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
that's-
someone came over to me and asked me, like, Label, why are you not roasting Shmuley and Zach
For being on
in
YBC?
Yeshiva boys?
We didn't choose it.
Hey, you
the
can
Thug Life chose us.
You could try it. You
Wait,
could
so you
try
guys know
it.
David Aziza, right?
No.
No,
he
he was probably in the New York one. Just not
Yeah.
the original ones.
Not the
They're the
OGs.
knockoff. We're the OGs.
Cleveland, baby. Okay, Rafi. We've brought up a lot of, like, I would say fiery, good, important topics, and I feel like I learned a lot, so I really appreciate that. But with all these interesting aspects about you, there's still the way I met you. The first thing I knew about you is the music, so I want to bring this back to music. you're a very busy man these days. You're actually famous amongst our little creative friend group as being kind of one of the more busier, just like constantly putting stuff out. You're a great manager of projects. Tell the people what you got going on right now.
So right now I'm on a personal level. I'm working on getting two different EPs out. The Zach EP. I have 4 songs recorded with Zach.
What's an EP?
An EP is an album that's a small album.
Okay.
It's like a 4-song album. I have an EP with Zach and I have an EP with Erica, who is just one talented bitch. She's incredible. I did so much music with her, and she's just everything I've always wanted. She's super commercial, great vocalist. So
yeah, fantastic.
I have 2 EPs coming out. I have the Zach EP and I have the Erica EP. I also have my Concrete Jungle album, which is gonna be coming out closer to the end of the year, as in the next one.
And for those who don't know, not long ago, you put out your first album, which was called Paper
July
Town.
8th. Paper Towns came out
in July. Not that long ago. Where I was, that's the first time we worked together. I worked on a song. That's also the first time you worked with this girl, Erica. And
Yes.
now you're putting out EPs featuring 2 of the vocalists, just
From
songs,
that.
just so each one's gonna be 4 songs with 1 vocalist.
Correct.
Yeah, and I know we've already worked. I'm super excited.
Dude,
for
our
that.
songs are so good.
Come on, Zach, you're doing an EP with him,
I
just
have
you?
4 songs coming out. With
Wow.
Him. Yeah,
You're the vocalist?
I am the vocalist.
Zach
for all
is the
of them.
vocalist.
Yeah.
Boom.
I
Wow.
maybe helped write 1 for a little bit, but for the most
Yeah.
part, I'm a
Could
higher
you
vocalist.
guys work together?
Boom.
This guy, has a beautiful voice.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, me and Zach will jam after the pod.
We need to have a jam. That'd be excellent.
Let's have a comes.
If you want to have sing,
I'll be honest, I keep telling
I would love to meet you.
I keep telling
100%.
Shmuley.
Context.
Hold on.
I'm with it.
I want Label to have a rap verse on one of your stuff.
I keep telling Shmuley that he needs to put out more music. Like he needs someone to put him on the scene. And he has a beautiful voice. So I really think that if you do one song with him and you direct it, I think Shmuley, that could be
I'll
your
visit
answer.
my
with it.
studio.
I'm with
we'll
it.
see if we have aligned goals. I'm very busy right now.
What do you charge an hour?
Oh, for recording fees? Like right now my rate is $65 an hour just for studio work. In terms of productions, it depends on your project and so
Right.
on. And it has a range.
Got it. Okay.
So, okay, and then when can we expect that second album?
So the Concrete Jungle album is going to be coming out, hopefully, if I can get it done, before the end of the year. Not this year, the next one.
Unreal.
Before the end of
You have
2023.
3 projects you want to put out before the end of this year.
No, he said
End of next year.
2023.
Before the end of 2023. The first 2 EPs are going to be coming out before I travel. I'm going to be going, doing a tour through Europe.
When?
November.
This coming November, you're going to
coming November.
Europe?
This is news to me. I
That's
didn't know.
dope.
Who are you going with?
My good childhood friend, Ariel Bardea.
Ariel Bodea. Cool.
Bardea. He's excellent. So we're going together to Europe. We're going to go to like Spain and France and all that stuff. And then about 2 weeks later, I'm heading off to Israel for 2 weeks.
How do you take off all this time when you have so much work?
It's cold. I'm losing my mind. I'm actually losing my mind.
Can you work remote?
No, outside will not work on vacation ever.
So what are you doing? Like, how do you just stop production
cramped.
for all
No.
these?
I'm cramming. Right now, I literally sleep like 4 hours a night, and I am suffering. Right now, I am suffering. I'm totally burnt out.
Thank you for making time for us in that
Oh no!
case.
So I was so excited. I literally WhatsApps and clients and annoying people, but like not annoying people. I love my clients. I'm saying just like clients and annoying people hitting me up and like I'm cramming so I can first of all get all the work done before I leave that I owe, and also I want to make an extra, bunch of money before I go.
I was gonna ask, are you making good money?
Yeah. By the way, 100%. It's a good question because you're in a space that not a lot
I'll
of
tell you
people
why.
are in.
I'm asking for a reason, but answer the question first.
I don't know what good money means. Yes,
Okay.
but I have bad spending habits, so I don't. Yeah.
That's okay. That's
problem.
lifestyle inflation. No, I'm asking because from what Zach tells me, Zach tells me obviously that you're super talented and you're clearly working with all these people. Are you one of the more in-demand music producers right now?
In terms of music production, not where I want to be yet. In terms of video production, yeah, gratefully, I have people waiting.
Okay, just make sure you're charging well. I'm serious.
Oh yeah, I'm expensive.
You're not producing for like big names yet.
Not yet.
Not really. But you're filming the music videos.
Actually, I don't know if I could talk about this yet, but I am currently doing a production for one big name.
You're producing music for him.
For like one of the top 3 Jewish artists.
So that's big for you because that's new.
It is.
That's
big.
new.
It is big.
Dang.
When's that happening?
I don't know when it'll come out, but the track's so good.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
So again, there's the video production, the filming, and the music production.
Correct. Also,
Got it.
there's photography and graphic design on the side of that.
Do you find that there's something that any project you work on? Because again, someone can hire you and it's completely their vision, sort of. But like, have you ever had to work on something and you're just like, God, I hate the choices this person's making. I don't like the song, but like.
So I have a.
Without using names, of course, but.
I have a. Sorry, what?
One last question. Do you ever, not last question, I'm probably going to ask you more, but do you ever have a music production that you just hate the song and like, you're like, and you'll do it anyways?
So no. Yes, I know. So largely, before I agree to any production, I listen to their demo, and if it's not for me, I'm like, not a bad song, I'm not the right producer. And when I'm feeling nice, I'll recommend them to someone who I think might fit. I think it would be such a disservice to myself to produce music I didn't like. But once I am doing a song I like, sometimes the vision for where it should go is not aligned where I think it should go. And because I am God, I know better. So I have this very hard problem. So what I have now is a intense revision policy, where I'm happy to, at the end of the day, you're paying me like a good barber. It's your head I'm cutting. So if you want to look a certain way, I'll do it, but I will give you my professional opinion first. And secondly, I don't go back and forth. Jews have this thing where like you send them a bounce, like a version of the project, and they send it to their sister-in-law's niece, who's a graphic designer, and she shows it to her dog's nephew. And it's like, stop. And then they give me a vision that they don't even understand, because they're saying words that I know they don't know what they mean. And so I have a policy. First of all, you could show my stuff to one person, not more. Second of all, a revision is every time I need to open the software. You can give me a lot of edits, but if I have to sit there, if this becomes a drag, I just charge them hourly, honestly, which I enjoy also.
Right, I can imagine you enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Wow. So you'll put out something though that.
Oh, my name only goes on the gold standard stuff.
Oh,
a ton of work out there that I did that people don't know I did.
Oh, because if you don't love something and you don't want to put your name on
I am
that.
now so curious.
Yeah.
We're going to talk after the pod.
Dude, when you scroll through WhatsApp and you see like this random esrig company that's giving like Shabbos candlelighting times, like I probably made it. You know what I mean?
That you made it? So confused.
I do a ton of graphics that I do
You do
not.
graphic design as well?
Yes.
What don't you do? No, you a real estate broker also? Like I'm trying to understand.
Kilu, I wish. I'm very creative minded. I'm not financially minded for now.
Why would you do you do graphic design currently?
Yeah.
He's like in demand graphic design.
Graphic design is my
So
highest
it's film,
paying
graphic
job.
design, and
Music production, yeah.
wow. Those things are all interrelated?
Yeah, sure. People want a guy who could do audio and visual because they
Album covers.
It means that
Oh, the album covers.
it means he's
Got
filming the music videos for his songs. He produced the songs. He wrote the songs, and the album cover art is his graphic design.
Got it.
Right.
So you could do any graphic design I want done. In theory, I could call you and you would be able to do it?
Yes. Yes,
Got
I
it.
can.
Okay, I'm just trying to
He's
understand.
like looking at it. He's like, we can change this right now if you want.
No, I'm happy to do that.
We all need a photo shoot.
I
do.
think I could give you a really good photo. You want to see my photos? I'll show you them after.
I'm sure they're great. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I didn't realize you do the graphic design also. Wow, that's fascinating.
I'm not bringing on no slouches onto your
I'm
pod.
curious what other components there are to this that maybe you also do.
Well, I have a keen sense for fashion, but it's expensive to get into and very competitive, and there's not a demand for it in the Jewish world where most of my money comes from. And so I don't bother doing that.
When you say fashion, you mean
Sewing garments. Sewing garments. I do know how to sew. I'm not a god of any such imagination, and I don't have a sewing machine, so my stitches are all done by hand. But I do like hem a lot of my garments, or I tend to buy things oversized because I can shape them to my body and like
That's crazy.
things like that. I do like fashion.
do you? When you say you like fashion, do you have? I assume you have a creative mind for fashion. In the sense
I like
where,
cars too, and he's like making cars.
In the sense where you
Everything
want,
he likes, he just
where
does.
you want to,
Yeah.
like you have an eye for fashion. That there are things you want to create that don't exist yet. Or
Yeah,
like
fashion is not style. That is a different thing. I don't think I'm particularly good at putting outfits together. Obviously, I have like that gay perk, but like fashion itself is couture. It's not streetwear. It is something different. It is designs that other designers get inspiration from. So I don't know if you ever watched like a famous designer's fashion show. The stuff they're wearing, mostly to an average eye, looks like garbage.
Right.
Like why is she holding a head? Right. Like
What the?
you know what I mean?
That was great.
It's like Gucci or whatever. They have these fashion shows. Christian Dior.
so that's what. So what's your take on that? Explain.
But what that is for, essentially, these designers come up with these out-of-the-box designs, and then they host runways where representatives from every actual streetwear company out there, and they can, first of all, patent things, license things, buy things, get inspired from concepts. Meaning the fashion you wear, let's say that ruffle on your shirt, that might have been adapted, from layers and layers of someone's kind of crazy design. So they said that's how fashion.
It's very similar to how car company. I used to be very into cars. Car companies will put out, there are car shows, there are auto shows, and they will put out a crazy concept car. All brands do this, especially the supercar brands. And the car's like the most futuristic, crazy thing. You're like, they'll never make this, and it's like, no, they won't. It's conceptual. But that wheel design and that thing, it does end up in cars.
Exactly.
That's so interesting. Wow.
Okay. We're gonna have you stop talking because if you keep saying things you're good at,
I'll be here for hours.
We could keep on going, but I think.
But Rafi, but knowing how busy of a man you are, like, really appreciate you coming on.
It's a pleasure.
Making time.
It's really a pleasure.
And by the way,
Rafi's an actual fan of the pod.
Definitely having you on again.
I would love to.
Definitely.
It's a pleasure.
No, those things like Rogan has, like. I'm Rogan, but aside from that, he has certain guests. I like Joe he has like 4 or 5 times. So I'm just saying,
he loves Mark Norman, Shane Gillis, and
Andrew Schultz. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there are certain people that have made multiple. Peterson's been on there a bunch of times.
But you're dope. This has been dope.
Thank you.
Yeah,
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Rafi. Really. See you guys next episode, number 25.
See you next.
Hell yeah.
All right. Peace.
Peace and love.